It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Renee Ritchie is here. Padre, Father Robert Ballas, the digital Jesuit, is here. And Lexi Savides from CNET. We're going to talk about the new Galaxy phones. Lexi will help me decide whether to buy a Fold or not. Father Robert's back from DefCon. He'll tell us how we can hack light bulbs, printers, satellites, and half of all the Android phones in existence. Plus, Tik Tok. It looks like President Trump did find a way to ban it. It's all coming up next on Twit. This Week in Tech comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 783, recorded Sunday, August 9th, 2020, the Galaxy Jaffle. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped promotes clean hygiene when it comes to shaving your family jewels. Don't emerge from quarantine looking like a Sasquatch. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com/twit. And by Monday.com. Monday.com is a flexible platform to manage any team, project, or workflow online. Collaborate, plan, and track everything your team's working on, wherever you are. To start your free 14-day trial, go to monday.com/twit. And by Casper. Casper is a sleep brand that makes expertly designed products to help you get your best rest, one night at a time. Get $100 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/twit1 and using the promo code twit1 at checkout. And by Salesforce Service Cloud. Salesforce Service Cloud is the world's #1 customer service platform that empowers organizations to deliver service from anywhere, from home, in the office, or the field. Go to bit.ly/Salesforce for service to find out more. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, our tech news roundtable, bringing together every week some of my favorite technology journalists. It's always fun. This is the one show where we rotate through a lot of different hosts because I know so many people who do this for a living, and I love them all. And this is a great panel because it's two old Twit friends. Renee Ritchie, who is, of course, a regular on Mac Break Weekly, formerly of iMore. He still writes for iMore and other companies. But Renee is now off on his own on YouTube. He's a YouTube star, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. Hi, Renee. It's good to see you.
Hey, Leo. It's good to spend Sunday with you. This is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, you're never here on a Sunday. So
I try. I watch.
Aw. You know who else is here? And we haven't seen him in many a moon. Father Robert Ballas, the digital Jesuit from the Society of Smoke Masks. Hi, Father Robert, Padre.
Leo, it's good to see you. My goodness.
Is that like, do the Swiss Guard wear those? Is that the official Vatican headgear?
Absolutely. You have to wear one of those to see the Pope.
Actually, what do they do to protect the Pope?
As long as you're wearing kind of a mask, it's more or less okay. One of the things that you have to remember is just to get near the Pope, it means someone's already made sure that you're not ill. It's kind of a thing around here. Do
they have testing?
I'm sorry?
Do they have testing? Rapid testing?
No, but they do have, they make sure that when you come near the Pope, you're wearing a mask. They make sure that you wipe your hands.
You're standing next to him with the wrong kind of mask.
No. See, my mask has been modified to put N95 filters inside the
so both
the outlets.
In and out. It doesn't have an outlet. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because how old is Francis? He's not young.
I don't think I'm actually allowed to say.
Really?
Someone gave me a list of things I can and cannot say, and I'm pretty sure age was on that.
What?
Not that it's a secret. Not that it's a secret. It's just that they don't want this to be rumor.
They allow me to say he's 83 years old, right?
Yes.
According
yes.
to Wikipedia. Okay. So he's absolutely in a high risk category. I mean, I am too. I'm in my 60s. So I think it's really important to protect him. So
it is. But I will say this, being a member of a security detail must be maddening, because before COVID, he would regularly drink things that the crowd would give him when he would do his audiences on Wednesday. Yeah, and you could see the security people just going, oh no. And now it's, I mean, he tells people to take precautions. He tells people to be sensible, but he personally would rather embrace people and shake their hands than keep distance.
You know, it's amazing. And I remember there was one incident where a woman actually grabbed him and pulled on him. And of course, you look at that and you go, oh, my God. But, you know, he is a man of the people. And he's a religious leader. So it would only make sense that he would reach out and touch people. That's so important to them. So I know, I'm sure he knows what a risk it is, but I'm sure he also feels like, hey, it's part of the job, right?
Exactly.
Jesus didn't say, I'm not going to wash those feet. They're disgusting. It's, I'm sure he thought it, but I'm sorry. I don't want to be sacrilegious, but that's,
no.
That's a man of God.
Absolutely. I mean, when every Easter he is at the prison,
he washes feet.
He's washing their feet.
Yep.
When he goes out, the Pope Mobile does not have bulletproof glass.
Oh, it doesn't?
He doesn't have any of that.
Oh, it used to,
out
though.
In the open.
It used to. Because there was an assassination attempt.
Correct.
Wow. I love Francis more and more all the time. Everything I learn about him, I'm just blown away. He's just an amazing fellow. And you're doing well. You're healthy, even though you're in the former center, the epicenter of COVID-19.
That has been the strangest thing, because everyone knows that it was bad here before it was bad anywhere else in the world. And so we are seeing the same patterns every other place in the world, except in some countries, there isn't that moment that we had in Italy where everyone collectively came together and said, this is bad.
Take it.
You know what? Put aside your personal freedoms. Let's take care of this.
And so now you're in good shape, right?
Oh, we're great.
Yeah.
But for the grace of God, go we.
There you go. Also, Lexi Savitas is here. It's always wonderful to see Lexi. She's a senior editor at CNET, really does a lot of their video stuff and is just a charmer. Hi, Lexi. It's good to see you.
Hi, Leo. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. Happy Sunday.
Representing our friends down under.
Well, I have been here for 5 years. So technically, I mean, you know, I'm American and Australian.
Are you ever going to go back? Not? I mean, you still have family back there. Are you ever going to go back?
Well, okay. So here's the funny thing. If you want to go back to Australia right now, there are very, very few flights from the US, understandably. But also you have to enter into a mandatory 2-week quarantine.
Oh, man.
Which you have to pay for yourself. And so it's interesting seeing like some of my friends who have gone back, and also, you know, a range of celebrities. There have been very variable hotel quality standards, if you were to put it, I guess, nicely. Some people have been put up in the places like the Intercontinental Sydney, which has a beautiful view of the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. 2 weeks there, not a problem. Other people have been put out, you know, like 20 kilometers from the center of the city, very far away from anything, and they're staring at a brick wall for 2 weeks. So the disparity there is quite interesting. So, if you want to go back at the moment, it's, you know, you really have to brace yourselves for, you know, you think it's tough being in your own house for 2 weeks, but think about it in a hotel room. So it doesn't sound that appealing. We'll see.
Now, I actually have a very important question for you, Lexi.
Sure.
Samsung had its event Thursday. Jason Howell and I got up 7 a.m. They announced the new...
7 a.m. What does Samsung have against the West
Well,
Coast?
it was 11 p.m. in Korea, so I don't, you know...
True.
They were staying up late.
Someone had to lose out somewhere.
There was no win either way. They announced the Samsung Galaxy Note. I've owned every Note since the very first Note. I love it. The Note 20 is the newest. That's funny. They didn't mention specs. They just didn't say what processor, they didn't say how much RAM, they didn't say how much storage, they didn't say anything except it comes in Mystic Bronze, the new color, and it's 120 hertz refresh rate. And they just assumed that and you know the rest. And then, which was weird to me, they did announce a successor to the Galaxy Fold. It's now the Z Fold for reasons no one understands because there's no Z involved.
Z Fold 5G. something.
Z Fold 5G2.
Yeah, Z Fold 2 5G, yeah. A lot of numbers.
And they did talk about specs there because I think they wanted to reassure people that it really is bendable glass, folks, even though
but that
they even showed Jerry rigs everything. Trying to,
but they showed like Marquez saying if only they could do it with glass, and then like, oh, Marquez, we can. Like, but not when he said that.
Right.
When he said that, you couldn't. Why would you try to explain to Marquez in a chronologically unacceptable way?
They also announced a new watch for $400. Earbuds that look surprisingly like bronze beans.
They do. They are bronze beans. I've got them here. They look very.
Ooh.
I have these, and I actually have the mystic bronzes of the.
Note this is why. See, this is why I go to Lexi, because she knows. Look at the camera bump on that. It looks like a separate unit.
It is incredibly. Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm knocking my microphone over because it's so big.
Look at that!
It's massive. It's massive. It's like a domino on top of the phone. Yeah. Look, it's a chunky big boy of a phone, 6.9 inches. But it
something like that is designed to be in a case, right? Because if you put that in a case, that bump is going to be flush against the edge of the case.
So fortunately enough, I have a case prepared this earlier. So look, the camera bump is significant. So when you do have it lying flat on a surface, if you do want to do that,
you get the wibble wobbles.
You get the wibble wobble. So you put a case on it, and then it does mitigate that somewhat. There is still a little bit.
Oh, it's still coming up.
Not a case.
Yeah,
you need a thicker case.
This is a very thin case, because I don't like my big chunky cases. But yeah, if you put a thicker case on it, it should get rid of that issue altogether. But then you cover up the nice looking phone. You can get a clear case, of course, but the whole point is that it looks and feels pretty nice, at least from the outside.
You can order the phone now. You could order the phone, the watch and the buds went on order the next day, and then September 1st we can order the Fold and the Flip. You don't have the Fold yet, right? So what I'm trying to decide,
I wish I do.
I would usually buy a Note. I have every Note. I don't.
You want the Fold, Leo?
Are you upgrading? I'm interested because
I see no reason to. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I think if the pandemic didn't happen, and obviously Samsung designed this phone way before we knew anything like this was going to happen, $1,300 for a phone.
Crazy.
It's still a crazy amount of money, but it was probably more reasonable when there wasn't a pandemic going on. Now we are in a completely different environment. So $1,300, it really has to be a value proposition for something that is going to last an incredibly long time. And I think, the announcement that we're going to get at least 3 generations of Android updates might help somewhat to sort of,
that's good.
It's $1,300, which is good.
It's got to be a 3-year phone at that price, at least.
At least, although I don't think we still yet have clarification on whether that's 3 versions of Android or 3 generations of Note phones. So I think we need to get a little bit more clarification on what 3 generations mean. One would hope it's 3 generations of Android. At least.
That'd be 3 years, right? Because it's a yearly update.
Right, at least. We should hope that your $1,300 phone is at least good for 3 years. I would hope so too. But yeah, I'm interested. Like, you're a Note user. What are your thoughts?
I'm really happy with the Note 10. I don't see any reason to upgrade at all. Is the camera light years better? No, it's the same sensor.
So here's the thing about the camera. When the S20 Ultra came out earlier in the year, it had, the bells and whistles, the 100 times space zoom, the 108 megapixel sensor. And the problem with that camera was it was technically amazing, but there were so many autofocus issues when it first was shipped to reviewers. It was terrible. I was taking photos like portraits, just a regular shot, not even in portrait mode. And my subject would be completely out of focus and the background was nice and sharp. And I was like, that's not my artistic intention there.
Right.
Because when you point and shoot, the focus was just getting all over the place. Video in particular was terrible in terms of focusing on the S20 Ultra, which has now been somewhat resolved. But Samsung's obviously gone, we have to fix that. So it's now got a laser autofocus system. I've been doing a little bit of testing, preliminary stuff, and it seems to be much, much better than the S20 Ultra. So that's a good thing. But in terms of is it a dramatic enough shift over the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus? Yeah, I'm not sure. I still need to do lots more side-by-side tests to really kind of evaluate that.
Well,
but at least the autofocus.
Then there's the fact that we are in a pandemic. And spending $1,000 for the regular and $1,300 for the Ultra seems like an awful lot of money, especially now that the Pixel 4a came out, which came out this week and is awesome. Everybody seems to love it.
$1.50.
Yeah, and it's like nothing.
Yeah.
It's like
$350.
It's $350, but that seems like a very low price for a phone. I got the just because I wanted to try it, the Motorola Edge, because I've been a fan of Motorola since the Moto X's, and they've always offered kind of a very pure Android experience in a lesser expensive phone. This Edge is a very nice phone. There's a lot of choices. There's, of course, the OnePlus phones that are much less expensive. There's even the iPhone SE. And I really wonder if the time is wrong for $1,000+ phone.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think the most impressive thing about that phone is the refresh. The refresh does make a difference.
Yeah.
I didn't used to think it did, but I saw it at CES and it's beautiful. But you've got things like the Asus ROG Phone 2, which will get you up in that area. And it's a beautiful phone. It's a ridiculous battery. It's a 30-day battery life. That was the review unit that I used. And it's incredibly fast. And it's half the price.
Yeah.
So $1,300 for something that might be incrementally better. I think if you had a Note 2, maybe. But definitely not if you've had a Note from the last 2 years.
Lexi, did the S20 sell well? My sense is it was not a big seller.
I don't think it did as well as, previous generations of Galaxy phones. That's for sure. It had so many issues straight off the bat, and it did take, several months worth of software updates, at least for the camera, which was arguably the biggest selling point of the S20 Ultra. So considering that, it also, had the 120 hertz refresh rate, and it was a good phone, but it wasn't great. And I think that was a real, those early reviews and those early issues with the firmware and the software updates that sort of kept trying to address it, I think really did a lot of damage for I think users that were coming to like the phone as the, annual upgrade that they do. Because, I think the thing is with the Note is that Samsung, it's interesting that the sort of types of users that go for the Note versus the S series. The Note users are so incredibly loyal, as Leo, you are. I know you are. You're so loyal, and you're pretty much like, I'm not going to buy any other phone. It's Note or die sort of thing. So it's going to have a lot of fans built in already that is going to come to this phone and go, I'm getting it no matter what. Right. In terms of attracting new users, though, that's going to be the interesting thing, because especially with the regular version of the Note 20 being $1,000 and having significantly less features that are worth $1,000, it's got that plastic back. The Note 20 Ultra is that new Gorilla Glass that promises like crazy drop durability. I think it's like 6.6 feet or 2 meters if you somehow drop your phone from that height, or your kid throws it up in the sky, and it shouldn't crack. So that's sort of, you're paying for those kind of cutting edge features. But the regular Note 20 does miss out on a lot of those things. And it's just going to be interesting, like, who is going to buy the regular Note 20? I can see people buying the 20 Ultra, but the regular Note 20.
If I get it, I'll get the Ultra. Yeah,
exactly.
Show me that Mystic Bronze again, because that really seems to be the number one selling point. Is it pretty?
It is.
Do you have one too, Renee?
It's very pretty.
No, but it's like the first color since rose gold that I thought, Christina Warren and I could get behind.
Kind of rose goldy, yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of rose goldy. And the good thing is about it, as I know, I did a quick first look video with this, it came out yesterday. The Note 10 Plus, Leo, as I'm sure you know, it does look like a crime scene if you don't use it without a case.
Fingerprints.
You find that, fingerprint magnet, honestly. You dust it and you're getting like years worth of fingerprints on it. The finish on this is the matte finish, so at least it doesn't have that issue so far.
Yeah, the Edge is the same way.
The S10 is on the sort of different side now. I'm going to be interested to see how you go with that.
It looks the same though. Well, I'm a lefty, so
that's how they do it in England.
That's
right. Leo, you know who would pay $1,300 for a phone?
Who?
So you've got the tech people.
Yeah.
The tech people who absolutely need the tech, and I get that. But also the people who know that this would be a status symbol, because you've got the latest, the greatest, the newest.
Yeah, but you're not going out. So nobody's going to notice.
If you're in quarantine, you're not going out.
No one gets
so
the
why
benefit. Yeah. Plus the stores are closed for most people.
Yourself.
You can't. That's why the sales of the S20 were lower. So really my real question isn't that. My real question is, what if I got the Fold instead?
That's what you should do.
Yes. You need to wait. We need to wait another month to find out details. I still don't understand why it wasn't just like, let's just do a big event and then just announce it all rather than why tease it now? Why make us
Well, it's
angry
only a
that we
few
get
weeks
enough
off.
information?
If I order September 1, I get it the
true.
15th or the 15th.
But that's the baller
right?
move, Leo. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's a baller's right. It's $2,000 baller.
Yeah, well, but
actually,
look at it, Leo.
Maybe.
I have a question for Lexi.
Oh, we don't know the
Lexi,
price. That's right. Maybe. Yeah.
Can you put the stylus in backwards?
Yeah, don't do it.
No,
Don't
don't.
do it, Lexi. Don't do it.
I know. I remember we had this discussion.
Yeah,
last
I
year
did it
with,
last time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been fixed.
Yeah, of course they
Can't
would
you
do
see
it.
Samsung
I know
doing
that's
the
a
whole
little
Steve
techy.
Jobs thing with? Can't you see Samsung doing the whole Steve Jobs thing with the Fold, saying, you know, you would pay $1,000 for a phone like this, and you would pay $700 for a tablet like this, and we could charge a premium on top of that, but we're not going to. We're going to price it at exactly that.
The two
Exactly.
folded together. It does have on the front a decent sized phone now.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's a 6.2 inches, so it's a decent phone. It opens up to 7+ inches. But
more
no
notch,
one's
no more
played
tire
with it.
attach.
So
No.
your advice, Lexi, would be wait until somebody's broken it.
Right? And yeah, well, I mean, you know, if there's someone for the job breaking things, I'm
It'll be you.
happy to volunteer as
Yeah.
tribute to
You're
help
going to
break
fold it like
things.
9,000 times on day one, aren't you?
One of us will try. We again are. It's going to be really interesting to see if Samsung actually says anything about durability in terms of fold rating, because that's the big reason why we tested the first generation of the Fold, because there was this big bold claim, 200,000 folds.
Right.
Like, how can we not test that?
And it
So,
did, though. It held
let's
up,
see.
right?
Just about. I mean, you know, we did use a machine that was built by a company called Square Trade that was built specifically for testing this particular hinge mechanism. So it got close. It got close. We'll see.
There's
We'll see
a
how the
new
next-
hinge in town. In fact, I was stunned that Samsung spent so many minutes talking about the 100 parts in the hinge and the we went.
Do that though. Don't do the interview. Do that. Don't sit in two chairs and talk for 20 minutes. Show me more hinges,
that was
please.
dumb. I
know.
That was so dumb because they weren't real questions. They were questions from Samsung to Samsung.
Yes.
But they said we were inspired by our vacuum cleaner.
That's when
what
you
you
know
want from
quarantine's
Samsung.
gotten to you, because you look at a vacuum cleaner and you go, inspiration.
But I want that. They make fridges. Use whatever you learned on use everything you've
Everything
ever
you
learned.
know.
From toilet seats to drill rigs. Everything you know to make better phones.
I mean, even Dyson doesn't say that they're inspired by their vacuum cleaner. They say their vacuum cleaner was inspired by a jet engine.
Right. Well, I did reserve it because I don't know. I just feel like I guess the question
Mystic
is,
Bronze, right?
are we? Yeah, it's Mystic Bronze, of course.
Yeah, good.
Has the time come for folding phones? I guess is the real question. You know, the other question,
Pre-pandemic, yes.
pre-pandemic, yes, but we're in a pandemic. Maybe
Yes.
But it's
someday.
not even like it's probably 2 or 3 generations before like they're still in early adopter phase and they won't become mainstream for another 2 or 3 years. But a lot of us really love that early adopter phase. We like being part of it. We feel like we're in on the experiment. It's like it's just us nerds for a couple of years.
It's
that
an
we get to enjoy
expensive
this stuff.
experiment to be in on.
I've had
Well, it's not like you're
folding
spending on
phones.
vacations.
Have
Leo.
you? Have you?
They're
Which
nice.
See, everybody who's had one says, you know, despite all the flaws, these are pretty nice to have.
It replaces a Kindle for 10 times the price.
It's thicker than heck. I mean, that
Exactly.
thing looks like it looks like one of your Jaffas. What do you call them, Jaffles?
Jaffles.
like-
Just put some grilled cheese. Maybe that's our test.
It
is to
needs
see
grilled
how well it grills
cheese.
cheese.
if
You know.
Joanna can do hot dogs, you can do grilled cheese. I like this plan.
It's the Jaffle phone.
Is a Galaxy Fold a sandwich? That's what we should be figuring out tonight.
Yes.
I like the idea of having a normal phone that and it's roughly, the screen is roughly this size, that you
Yeah.
open it up and then you get this kind of tablet size thing.
And really pretentiously in public, you just, I'm opening my phone now.
Yeah.
You know, just you got to do that whole.
Too
air
bad
of-
no one's around.
You're not in public. You
on
won't be
Zoom.
in
You just do it
public
on the
for
Zoom
months.
call. You go on Alex Lindsay's Zoom call and you open your phone.
Yeah. Oh, let me check. Let me just see. Yeah. Okay. So you're no help at all. I just feel like is the time right, but it is early probably still. And you're right.
Yeah.
The prudent
It's early
thing
days.
would be to wait until you get one and break it.
But wait, Leo.
I'll be the guinea pig and see how durable it is. No, I mean honestly, I want it to be durable. I don't want to have to test its durability. I want it to be realized to the extent that if this phone does end up costing $2,000 like we're predicting it will, it needs to be able to withstand the rough and tumble of everyday life, right. Whatever that is in quarantine now. It's sitting on the couch and opening it, just literally flipping it open and close because you have nothing else to do.
I did think I was briefly thought, I should get the whole set, not the Tom Brown edition, but I should get Mystic Bronze, folding phone, beans.
That's the only acceptable thing to do.
And watch. And I have to say, looking at the watch, I'm kind of a fan. I had the Gear Frontier. I think that was the Gear 2. I like the rotating bezel is a very nice affordance. I like it that it's round. And it looks like the new one does almost as much as an Apple Watch, which is, I'm an Apple Watch wearer. It almost looks like I could trade in my iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch for a Z Fold, Beans, and Galaxy Watch. It'd certainly be a worthwhile thing to do for 6 months just to see how they compare. I think
that's what they want you to do. Yeah. I think interesting that you bring up the comparison with the Apple Watch because it's very obvious over the past, like watching the iteration of the Galaxy wearable line, particularly with the Active 2 that came out last year, that had those flagship features that we first saw on the Apple Watch, talking about ECG in particular. But it was a flagship feature on the watch, so on the Apple Watch that had FDA clearance when it first came out on the Series 4. But then the Galaxy Watch Active 2 was released saying, yes, it had ECG, but it didn't get FDA clearance. And a year later, we have just heard word that it did get FDA clearance on the Watch 3, which was just announced this week. But we don't know an actual rollout timeline of when to expect that in the US. It's got clearance, which is a start, but the fact that it was at least the earlier generation was announced, and then we didn't get any indication on, as a consumer, not just as someone who follows technology, day in, day out as my job, but as a consumer, if I bought that watch and I would go, great, it's got ECG, but when am I going to get it? Maybe a couple months, it's fine. A year later to get certification is, it's a big deal. And
it's a gamble. It's a big
gamble. It is a big gamble. And if you get the Apple Watch, and if you're specifically looking for those heart features like ECG, you're going to get it. It's going to be fully functioning. On the Samsung Watch, it's not guaranteed. We don't know. We just don't have a timeline. Blood pressure too is the same on the new watch.
We're talking about the promise of an ecosystem like this. I mean, we like the idea of where it might be heading. To have the watch, the phone, the tablet, the laptop, all tied together in the same ecosystem, giving us real-time data. And yes, the FDA is moving on approving some of these applications, but we still haven't seen how you're actually going to create that environment, how you're actually going to create that ecosystem. Do you actually have a plan for taking all that data and giving it back to me in some usable form? Or is it really just going to be you're counting my steps and you're counting my heart rate?
Samsung Health is much better than Google Fit, I think. It's a very good, on the Android side, it's the best health app out there. I track my blood pressure, so having, if it were accurate, a good blood pressure sensor would be great. For COVID, having an oximeter would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a little oximeter that I bought in case anybody I know gets sick, because that's one way that it's time to go to the hospital because you're not getting the air. So I thought that was cool, but that, of course, it won't work. In fact, the only feature that is FDA approved is the ECG feature, which is the same thing I already have in the Apple Watch.
I just want the killer app. I haven't yet seen the killer app. For me,
the Apple Watch really it's a health watch, and it's always on. I don't mind. I like wearing a watch. I like to know what time it is, and I think this watch is also always on. Yeah, I can't get it in Mystic Bronze. Oddly enough, from the 45 millimeter size, you can only get it in silver.
It's unbelievable. Like that's the whole
thing.
It's the only acceptable color.
Now tell me about the Magic Beans, Lexi. The complaint that your reviewer and others had is that it doesn't do the noise reduction that it's supposed to do very well.
Right. So I've just taken these out of the box. I've just got them pretty much this morning, and I've been testing
you don't
out
have any
noise cancellation. Yeah. I've been using them all day today.
They're really pretty.
Very pretty. It's interesting. The design is completely different. So
can you put it in your ear so we can see how it fits?
Sure.
There's one size fits all, right? They have different tips.
Yeah, so there's those different tips that will be able to be changed.
It's weird
up the top.
that double-sized tip. Is it comfortable?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I've been wearing it this morning.
Actually,
and
that's quite pretty.
It is fairly comfortable. I do have very tiny ears, though. And the fact, I was actually genuinely surprised that it did fit my ear.
Yeah, my wife's the same way.
I was actually scared that it was going to be too big for my ear.
She hates AirPods because it's one size fits all on the AirPods, and it hurts her ear because she has tiny ear. So that looks pretty good. And it seals?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's an open design.
Oh.
So that means it doesn't actually have the interchangeable tip that sits in your ear, your actual ear canal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't create the seal like the AirPods Pro does. So they just have that open design. That is why, I've just been listening with my noisy fridge on in the background just to sort of see how it works with canceling the noise. It is not as effective as the active noise cancellation from the AirPods Pro.
Oh, well.
So, and it's just because it's just the fact of the design, being an open design like this, unless it's actually physically inside your ear canal,
to seal it,
it's much more difficult. Yeah.
I have to say that is much more attractive than the AirPods Pro.
You just know that some YouTuber is going to buy 100 pairs of those and make ear beans chili. That's just going to be a video.
Great idea, Renee. I think I'll do that.
Yum.
All right, awesome.
They really do look like the bean in Chicago.
They totally do. I'm surprised they didn't call it the Galaxy Bean.
I think they really should have. That was, I think, the code name on people that were referencing it as that.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
It's just a missed marketing opportunity. But oh well.
And Lexi, they stay. Like when you shake, when you exercise, they don't want to come out.
I can. So it's funny. We actually did so my colleague Vanessa Handoriana and myself, when we tested out the Powerbeats Pro and the original AirPods, when they came out, it was probably like May last year. We actually did a full-on head-banging shake test with both of them in our ears. It was quite fun.
What music were you listening to?
Oh,
Celine Dion.
Thrash something. I don't know what it was. Something that really, evoked the need to headbang. And we actually surprised. I mean, obviously the Powerbeats stayed in better than the regular AirPods, but I think I'll be doing something similar with these guys. But yes, to answer your question, they do stay in my ears. They don't seem to be budging. I haven't gone on a run with them yet, though, because that's my next big test. Because the regular AirPods Pro for me, they just don't stay in my ears when I go on a run. So I can't use them to work out. So if I do a workout, I usually use like an over-ear hooked design.
Yeah. Me too. Yep.
Same.
I wear aftershocks, actually, because then you can't shake those loose. Yeah, maybe I won't get the beans. Maybe I'll just get the watch and the fold. I don't know.
There you go.
Oh, come on, Leo. You know you want your beans.
Actually,
why are we entertaining this? We know he's getting them.
I really hate. Shut up. I really hate earbuds. I have yet to find any wireless earbuds that I think these are good. In fact, one of the reasons I got the Edge is because it has a headphone jack. I feel like that's going to be why wouldn't you put a headphone jack in the Fold? You got all that real estate.
One word, Leo.
What?
Courage.
Don't do it. Don't you do it.
Speaking of courage, we'll get to that. The courage man is gone. It's gone. I also want to talk about DefCon. Is it over?
It will be over just a few hours after we're done here.
Okay. So what if they held a hacker convention and nobody showed up? Well, we'll talk about that. Father Robert's been covering that. There's news all over the place. Fortunately, we have excellent people to cover it for us. Lexi Savides from CNET, my buddy Renee Ritchie from Renee Ritchie. And
sorry,
Father Robert Balasaire, the digital Jesuit, who's drinking. I caught him mid-drink. How's the grooming there in Vatican City?
Grooming? What's that?
bobbery.
I think a lot of people think now that we're in quarantine, we don't need to groom. We don't need no stinking grooming. I'm here to tell you, even if you're quarantined by yourself, it's good for your self-esteem to take a little care of yourself. I love these. These are the new Manscaped shears, the Shears 2.0. This is the best. And actually, Lexi, it's not just man. A woman could use this too. In fact, my wife keeps stealing mine. She says it's the best nail clippers she's ever used. Look at this. This is beautiful. This is a grooming kit. Fits very discreetly in your shaving kit or your pocket. Actually, I can carry it in my pocket. I carry it in my briefcase. Has a file. It's got safety scissors. It's got a very interesting design for a nail clipper that actually really, really is smart. It really, really works. It's just beautifully designed out of high-quality steel. Manscaped does everything right, including this is the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0 plus Peak Hygiene Plan. This is another great Manscaped invention. They just came out with their Mower 3.0. The lawnmower is a waterproof cordless body trimmer. These are ceramic blades spinning at 7,000 RPM, which does two things. One, it means they cut rapidly, easily, without pulling or chafing. But it's also, because it's such a high RPM, it's very quiet. I'm putting it right next to the microphone so you can hear it. But it is, you can manscape discreetly. And sometimes, somebody comes over, you might want to run to the bathroom and just do a little once over. You can do that. Look, it's got even a little light. You can do it with the lights out. It's got a little pilot light. And, of course, a guide, so you don't have to, you can choose. This is their third generation trimmer, and they've gotten better and better and better. And I love it, the Perfect Package Essentials Kit. You'll get your upgrade every 3 months. You'll get a new ceramic blade, so it's always sharp. It's always safe. It's always satisfying. And it comes with a whole bunch of other stuff. You get a lovely luxury travel bag. You get a pair of Manscaped's world-famous anti-chafing boxer briefs. No one wants to chafe. You also get some of the delicious potions, the formulations like the Crop Preserver, the Crop Cleanser, the Crop Reviver. I'll let you figure out what these are for. Or you just go to Manscaped and look on the website, manscaped.com/twit. And they even have a foot deodorant, which is nice. You want to stay, even if it's just for yourself, you'd like to stay fresh, clean, feel good about yourself. And if you're quarantining with a friend, doesn't the friend deserve a little extra attention to your grooming after all? I think so. I love this Shears 2.0 nail grooming kit. I think it's so good. Get those talons in tip-top shape for summer. Never worry about keeping the blades sharp on your Lawnmower 3.0. Manscaped will send you replacement blade refills every 3 months when you get the Perfect Package 3.0 plus Peak Hygiene Plan. No commitment. You can cancel at any time. They are raising awareness about testicular cancer. It's the most common form of cancer among young men aged 15 to 35. They've partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to educate on the importance of early detection and self-screening. Go to the website and learn more about that too. Manscaped.com/twit. With Manscaped, everything you need to trim up and defuzz. Summer is here. And we've got a really awesome offer, 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com/twit. Manscaped.com/twit. Get 20% off plus free shipping. This is a habit to start now. Someday quarantine will be over, and you'll be glad. It even comes with the Manscaped Daily News, which I didn't understand, and Micah Sargent had explained. This is so you spread it on the ground, so it makes it easy cleanup. But they also have in here a kind of a guide for a variety of different manscaping designs that you might wish to try. There's the Get Lucky, the Royal, Flower Power, little thumbs up for liked, or a little Twitter bird for social. I don't know. That sounds a little difficult. I'll just stick with the basics. Thank you very much. Anyway, love you, Manscaped. Great products, great quality. And something I think we all need to do. Pay attention to your grooming. It's easy. You can just wear sweats every day and slob around the house, not shave. But maybe it's for your own self-esteem and for the people around you. It's a good idea to take care of yourself a little bit. Manscaped.com/twit. Thank you, Manscaped, for supporting This Week in Tech. I think it would be a good time now, perhaps, to talk about, there's many places we could go. How about let's talk about DefCon? How's that been? Used to be, Robert, we would prepare for this week, because we'd learn about all sorts of flaws and security problems and so forth in the talks at Black Hat and DefCon.
I just tell you, Leo, like what would happen to us is that the abstracts would come out, and every contributing editor who was looking for a headline would write up the end of the world because XYZ exploit is coming without ever looking at the talk. And then we would field panicked people for a week until the actual talk.
And then they say, well, they really have to get to your system. And yeah.
Yes.
There actually was one, and I don't know if this was a Black Hat, but Checkpoint Software revealed Achilles, which is a nasty flaw in the Qualcomm Snapdragon. I've got snacks on my mind after our Jaffle conversation. A Snapdragon chip. These vulnerabilities affect 40% of the Android market, including phones from Google, Samsung, LG, Xiaomi, OnePlus, and more. There are patches, thank God. Was this a Black Hat revelation, Robert?
That was actually a DefCon. I'm trying to bring up the slide deck. One of the things that was different about DefCon this year was the fact that they provided all of the talks ahead of time.
Nice.
Because they were all pre-recorded. And so you've got the slide decks, you've actually got the videos, you've got the write-ups, the white papers. That one was particularly interesting. The talk was hard to follow because the researcher definitely wasn't English as a first language. But as you go through, you realize what he's doing. He was able to take complete control of an Android device, and you could do it in such a way that the person using the Android device wouldn't actually know that you got root control of his device.
That's terrible. Now it says it's a pwn-to-own Qualcomm Compute DSP for fun and profit. It's not the current crop of Snapdragon chips.
Right. It's an older chip.
So if you have a phone you bought in the last couple of years, you're okay. There are patches, but this is the problem. The older your phone, the less likely you're going to get patches.
And it's not necessarily even the older phones, because you have to remember when you're talking about 1 billion plus devices that are sold every year, a lot of those are low-cost devices. And the low-cost devices will use these older chips.
Yep. It's 40% of the overall smartphone market. So this is a lot of phones that need the patch, that many of which will not get the patch. There are 6 flaws, and they give you complete and absolute control of those phones. How do you get it on there? Is it with malware, with a malicious app, for instance?
So there were a couple of ways that they were shown. The one that I was looking at was actually not publicly available. It was a demonstration that was shown to me. Actually, part of DefCon is the Discord. They started up this Discord that has all of the people that you would normally meet throughout the conference. And I mean,
that's
everything
a good
is
idea.
Organized.
Yeah,
just like it would be if you were actually walking through DefCon.
Do they have a wall of sheep Discord channel?
Yes. Although it's harder to do
if you're not there.
People are not actually on site.
Yeah. Spot the Fed on the Discord channel.
Video stream, right? Like it's not just a malicious install. You can target it through a video stream.
You're kidding.
Correct.
Because it's a renderer. It's the rendering engine on the chip.
Any incoming content.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! So this is one that you would clutch your pearls and
Silicon
say,
is unforgiving, and like I think every silicon engineer has this sort of in the back of their nightmare brain.
Yeah, because once well, when we saw that with Meltdown and Spectre, the flaws on the Intel chips, once it's in hardware, mitigation is not easy, and more importantly, especially in the world of Android, there may be no cavalry will come.
Or the unpatchable jailbreak we saw last year for the older iPhones too.
Right.
That's actually, if you're smart, that's what you target. You don't target the newer chips, the newer phones, because they will get patched. You target the legacy devices because those manufacturers they're not going to put any money into developing that patch into something that's releasable.
Right. What else should we be terrified of?
Everything, Leo.
Everything. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
This was a I don't want to say a lull year. I think it's people are trying to figure out how best to push the research that they've been doing because online it's not. We haven't figured it out. I loved what they did with Black Hat. I love what they're doing with DefCon. But there was a sense of loss because when you're at the conference, you actually have a group of friends and you kind of help each other, point each other in the right direction. You don't have that with YouTube, Twitch, Discord.
Yeah.
The other thing that I actually kind of enjoyed, though, was there was an announcement at Black Hat about satellite hacking. Now, this sounds strange because we don't use satellite. But when you think about what satellites are actually used for, cruise ships, remote deployments for things like oil rigs and devices that are in remote locations, they were able to show that with less than $300 worth of hardware, you could basically intercept any satellite communications. And the vast majority of satellite communications are not encrypted.
Right.
And I want to pick up some of this hardware and see what I can get here in the Vatican.
Does it include GPS?
Oh, GPS is easy. But this would be something like
that's
point
nothing.
of sale.
Oh,
yeah, point of sale terminals.
Yeah.
This would be, you can pick up email conversations because they don't encrypt going up to a satellite. And think about how a satellite works. When you're going up to a satellite, you do need to point in a specific direction in order to hit that satellite. But when it's broadcasting in as large a swath as possible because it wants to hit the receiver as well as possible. So your packets are really scattered anywhere where anyone with the right piece of equipment, and that's basically just a digital signal receiver that has a DSP on it that you can reprogram, can receive it and decode it.
Here's a talk I would have gone to because it's two researchers from Tencent, the Chinese company. Evil Printer, How to Hack Windows Machines with Printing Protocol. In this talk, we'll walk you through an incredibly fun bug we've discovered in printer spooler services. It can be exploited both locally and remotely, escapes sandbox, executes arbitrary code, and also elevates the system. While Microsoft managed to develop the most restrictive sandbox for Microsoft Edge, this bug easily goes through it like it's a sieve.
But the good news is it's much easier to get a thumb drive and patch a printer than it is to get a thumb drive and patch a satellite.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But nobody patches printers.
Oh, man.
Nobody.
Those HP printers are still vulnerable.
They're cheaper than the ink. You just buy the new printer.
Well, and a lot of offices have these printers on the network sitting there, and that's a real vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that one is today. I guess I missed it. Oh, well. We'll hear about that tomorrow. Evil Printer. Great. I'm sure Steve will cover some of these. How about this one? From Checkpoint also. Don't be silly. It's only a light bulb.
Yes. This one was fun. You have to remember that inside your smart bulbs, be it for Hue or one of the knockoffs, it's not just something that's connected to the Bluetooth radio on your phone. It's a mini server. And it's a very poorly protected mini server. And if someone can get that, it means they now have something in your network that they can pivot to elsewhere. And I mean, people don't realize that. It's not a light bulb. It's a server. It's a server that will never be patched. So once somebody is in, they have visibility to everything that bulb might be connected to.
This is kind of stunning as you go through these titles. Applied cache eviction through ATM exploitation. Cache eviction is a euphemism for something we used to call jackpotting, making the ATM just spit cash out.
Fundage exfiltration.
Apparently, this is from the synopsis, the high barrier to entry for even legally opening up an ATM has left a lot of attack surface area unchecked. Through this talk, we want to shed light on the state of ATM security and encourage the security community to continue to challenge ATM vendors to do better. It's apparently not so hard to get your ATM to jackpot, or
except if you're using your card in your account.
Yeah,
money
if you want it, no, that's different. Yeah. Reverse engineering the Tesla battery for more power. And on and on and on.
Don't do that, by the way. If you actually own a Tesla,
no.
You can hack it, but it's
they'll
very
never
clear
let you
that
drive
hacked
it again. Yeah.
Elon will come to your house.
This is just fascinating. All of the different things. So, but it's a shame. It sounds like it's a little bit sad, as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But I mean, you were right when you and Renee were talking about this at the beginning. That every year we get to the sky is falling. We get to this is the worst thing ever. This is just how it works now. We have to find the vulnerabilities. And the nice thing about this is we will find the companies that are responsible enough to patch them. And those are the ones that we're going to end up trusting.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Everyone will have flaws. It's how they respond to them that matters.
If anything,
Precisely.
we would do the most good by just publicizing those companies that step forward and say, we'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the ones that won't.
Yeah.
All right. DefCon, Black Hat. Yeah, I look forward to. That sounds like one you really want to come to in person. But
he didn't have to secure his laptop and turn off Wi-Fi and everything this year. I mean,
I don't think you bring a laptop, do you, Robert?
I did it anyways. I actually
just a good thing.
Once a year, I do a clearing of all my devices.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
And I just did it again because it's kind of, it's a habit.
Are they going to mail out badges to people who couldn't make it?
Oh, no. So Lost did a badge this year. It's actually a cassette tape. And if you play it, it just sounds like it has music on it. But if you run it through an oscilloscope and put left channel, right channel into XYZ and XY coordinates on that oscilloscope, it actually draws a pattern that becomes one of the clues for the mystery challenge.
Oh, so they're doing it. Awesome.
I love it. It's every single year when they do this thing, it just blows me away the imagination that Lost and crew have. It's one thing to solve a puzzle. It's another thing to be the puzzle maker. I love the puzzle makers.
Yes, I agree with you.
Did you see a bunch of YouTube accounts got hacked this week, Leo?
No. What happened?
Yeah, so Front Page Tech, which is John Prosser's site, the guy who did all the Apple leaks, and several others had their accounts hacked. They went through two-factor authentication using SIM swapping and various other means, and they either put all the videos into a playlist and privated or deleted them and started streaming Elon Musk Bitcoin scams. And they were getting like 40,000, 60,000, and YouTube wasn't taking them down at first. And people kept complaining and reporting them. Finally, YouTube took them down, and then the hackers got upset and deleted all the channels.
Yeah. Is there a fix?
YouTube says they're going to investigate, and within it was like Twitter was responded really well by comparison. YouTube is going to investigate, and within a few weeks, they should get their channels back. But those are their careers.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, actually, Leo, there is a fix. If you are an investor in cryptocurrency, no one wants to give you Bitcoin.
Start with
also, don't have a phone number as a two-factor mechanism. Just don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Remove it. Go into Google settings and remove it.
You mentioned the courage to remove headphone jacks. The guy who uttered those words is, well, not gone, but he's moved upstairs. Phil Schiller, longtime guru, chief of Apple marketing, has become an Apple fellow and is being replaced by somebody who's even been at Apple even longer, Greg Joswiak, who will now be Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. We talked about this a little on Mac Break Weekly, Renee. Yeah. Do you know any more about it? I mean, we just...
yeah, a little bit. I mean, Phil's been at Apple for a very long time.
He's
came there
60.
from Macromedia.
Yeah.
Yes. He's an avid Leica photographer. He's got a singer. He's got a bunch of, I don't know if he still does. He's got a bunch of fancy cars. He's got a family. He loves his sports, and he's going to keep control of the App Store and of events, two things that he probably doesn't want to dump on Jaws, given how high profile and how contentious they are right now. And he has a couple other direct reports he's going to keep. And then everything that has to do with product marketing at Apple, which is very different than other companies. Like, they're not salespeople. They're actually helping design, implement, and spec out what's going to go in the new software, hardware releases, all of those things, iPhones, Apple Watches, Macs, all of it. He's going to take on the senior vice president responsibilities for worldwide product marketing. And we saw some of the people who work for him, like Kyan Drance, got promoted to vice president of iPhone marketing, and she was on stage the last 2 years for the iPhone event. So obviously they've been building towards this for a while.
And this sounds like it's a transition out. Like, he'll keep some of these jobs for a little while as Jaws gets it all together, and eventually Jaws, I would imagine, take it all.
He's super smart. He's an engineering background. He can explain silicon, battery technology, battery chemistry to you. Like, they like to manage 3 layers deep, which is, as someone who is geeky and nerdy, and talking to them as opposed to talking to a sales marketing person, it's just night and day. It's so much more fun.
I'd be far prefer to talk to Jaws. I feel like he has done enough engineering. He knows what he's talking about, and he just
Phil is great for camera stuff. Like, they all have their expertises.
Right.
I could talk to Phil about the camera technology and computational photography.
He's really into that.
For hours. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
now, Renee, this fellowship, it's basically, it's just a way to keep him from going someplace else, right?
Well, I don't think he would, because like he still bleeds 6 colors, but it's sort of like Apple is so flat. Like they have very, very few senior vice presidents. They have no presidents. They have a couple C-level executives, and they have a bunch of directors, but they're not exposed. Like there's no Apple hierarchy, and it's just like we need Jaws to be the senior vice president. We don't have another title for you. We got this Apple Fellow thing since Woz. Is that good? Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I'll take it. Whatever. I wondered if it was like Silicon Valley, the TV show where he ends up on the roof having lunch with all the other people who are Apple fellows.
Like it could be CMO, but it's just like it's not what he's doing anymore.
No,
and
I think it's a semi-retirement, and I understand.
He basically ran product at Apple for 20 years.
For a long
Even under
time.
Steve Jobs,
He's
he ran product, and now Jaws is going to be doing that.
So there have been some big transitions. I mean, Angela Ahrendts left. Phil Schiller leaving is a big deal. Johnny Ive leaving, a huge deal, right? He'd been there many, many years too. This is kind of some of the leaders in the Steve Jobs era who are moving on.
Only Eddie is left.
Great piece, though, in the Wall Street Journal this week about Tim Cook and really celebrating Tim Cook and how, like me, a lot of people, when Jobs passed away in 2011, were concerned about Apple's future without its visionary leader. And they talk about how Tim Cook didn't try to duplicate Steve Jobs, instead found his own way, made Apple his own in a way that actually worked quite well. Instead of innovating by creating products that redefined categories like the iPhone and the iPad and the iPod, he took the existing products and made them sing and refined them and found ways to make more money with them. In fact, Apple is close to being remember when we made a big deal that Apple was $1 trillion company?
Yeah.
It's now a $1.9 trillion company, very close. I would say this week probably will hit $2 trillion. So I think you'd have to say that Mr. Cook has done fine.
It's a little I mean, he is a good product guy too. Like the Cook doctrine, he took a lot of what Steve Jobs just did by instinct and made it into almost like a strategy. And the Cook doctrine by itself is that Apple will only enter categories where they believe they can provide a differentiated experience. And that's where Apple Watch, that's why they shipped Apple Watch and not the television, and why they shipped AirPods and not some of the other things that they were working on. So I think he's not the product visionary that Steve Jobs was, but he's very good at identifying markets where he thinks that Apple can make a huge impact.
Jobs told him, don't ask what I would do, as he's on his deathbed and saying, Tim, you're going to run the company. Don't ask what I would do. Do what's right. And the Journal said that's kind of what Tim Cook did. They did an interview in 2017. He said, I knew what I needed to do was not to mimic Steve. I would fail miserably at that. And I think this is largely the case for many people who take a baton from someone larger than life. You have to chart your own course. You have to be the best version of yourself.
If you're not a founder, you can't get away with some of the things a founder can get away with.
Yeah.
The maddening thing to me, though, is here we are in 2020, and there are still articles being written like this, that Tim has made Apple his own. It's like, the company is worth 4 times more than it was when Steve Jobs had it. They are profitable in every stage. There are no loss leaders in this company. They've gone through losing basically the entire channel team that made it profitable under Steve Jobs, and yet they've continued their rise in profitability every single quarter. This company was his 5 years ago. Yeah. And he's, I mean, it is Tim Apple's. It is Tim Apple's company.
Yeah. And he's entering a challenging era. Of course, he was one of the 4 CEOs brought to Capitol Hill to testify before the House subcommittee on antitrust. And I thought he acquitted himself quite well. He certainly impressed me by saying, look, we are not dominant in any category we're in. We just try to do the best product.
That's what Zuckerberg said, too. That's hilarious.
Mark is. There's no question about that. But
Tim was funny. Like, there was that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Gina managed to become invisible by dressing like Amy, like in beige tones and like just so, and that was like Tim was like desaturated and very nondescript. And they didn't ask him questions for like half the thing. They forgot he was on the Zoom call.
Yeah. You reviewed the new. They did ship. We knew they would. He said they said they would at WWDC. another Intel Macintosh, in this case an iMac. You think this is the last Intel Macintosh?
I think it's either the last or the second to last. I can see them. I think there's going to be a bunch of people who just won't accept Rev A boards. They will not take an Apple Silicon Mac first generation. They're going to wait and let people like me and probably you, Leo, and probably everybody here.
We'll take the bullets, the arrows.
Yes.
Yeah, as we go over
and
the
they're
hill.
going to want either they run Windows in Boot Camp or via VM, or they have high-end, Brianna Wu style 3D rendering software that's barely supported on Intel Macs, or for some reason they just need a good Intel Mac to go the next 3-4 years. And this one is great. Core for core, 10th gen Intel is not much better than 9th gen. It's still 14 nanometer, and we all know Intel's. I'm just going to say silicon drama is like beauty drama on YouTube when you dig into it. It's just so much crossfighting and all this stuff going on. But the AMD Radeon graphics chips are really good. And in my test renders, I don't really care about synthetic benchmarks. They're entertaining. But to me, it's time to finished work. Like if I start something in Final Cut Pro, when I can export it and upload it, that's the time that matters to me. And this was like 30% faster than my 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is significant, especially on larger videos. And the screen was already ridiculous with 5K and deep DCI P3 color. And now the nano texture, where it, instead of just diffusing glare unilaterally, it kind of breaks it up. So you don't see any of the kind of
that's
loss of contrast
$500 upsell.
Yeah.
And I've never liked matte screens compared to glossy, but that's not what this is.
Me either. Yeah. This is good.
And you like
it's like the best panel I've seen. Yeah.
You also said the camera. Apple is not known for putting good cameras in their laptops.
They're terrible. They're potatoes.
You said the camera on this is very good.
I'm using the Logitech Brio 4K right now, and it is way better than this. It's only 1080p, but the T2 chip inside the iMac, it's basically a coprocessor. I think just their contract with Intel means they can't call it that. But it's got the image signal processor from the iPhone 7 in it. So it's doing all the white balance and tonal mapping and everything that an iPhone 7 camera did. So I don't look like off color like this. It looks really, really good, really crisp, really sharp. It's got facial recognition, facial awareness for the focus. So it's a really good camera and really good microphones this time too.
But same design. No one would know.
But it's the end of Intel. I mean,
that's
it's just
the thing. To me, this is the end of an Intel Mac.
Yeah.
Maybe the last
of the last
Intel Mac ever, or second to last. What will there be they're not going to do another Mac Pro. They're not going to do.
No,
would they do a laptop?
I don't know if they would need to, but the last thing I think some people were waiting for was a 10th gen 16-inch MacBook Pro.
There was a rumor that they would do that with the 10th gen Intel processors, but that most certainly would be the last. And most people wanted it for Wi-Fi 6, and I don't think Apple has any intent of doing Wi-Fi 6 on Intel Silicon. No. I think all the Macs are going to go to Wi-Fi 6 on Apple Silicon. That's why I'm sure this is nice. I don't need a new Mac right now. I can suffer for another 6 months to a year.
What if it was Mystic Bronze?
Even in Mystic Bronze, although that is tempting.
What if it was shaped like a bean?
I think I'm not going to buy any Intel stuff at all until I see Apple Silicon and see. Are you, Lexi, a Mac person or you seem like you would be.
I'm running my work machine, and I'm actually streaming, talking about, it's interesting, Renee, talking about webcam quality, because that was the big thing that I was so interested in about the new iMac. This webcam I'm running a 15-inch MacBook Pro.
What are you using for your camera now? Because it looks great.
It's a 15-inch MacBook Pro from 2016.
It looks great.
Really, good. I'm glad. Well, a little bit of lighting does definitely help this, but overall, it's been an interesting, watching the transition of MacBook over the past couple of years. I honestly, the touch bar just drives me up the wall.
Too.
Most of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, so it's really hard to kind of get past that for many of my use cases. there's just no one application that it works seamlessly for. I know there's a bunch of different hacks and ways to get around it, but I just, the touch bar has still been one of those things that just
and the crappy keyboard.
To my function keys, please.
And
the keyboard's now been fixed, but this keyboard, the one I'm using at the moment, I've actually got pretty lucky with the keyboard on this one. I haven't had too many of the stuck issues with the butterfly mechanism at all. So I've been very fortunate, but it's got lots of other things going on in different ways.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Good.
Even if it doesn't break, I don't like it. But Lisa needs a new MacBook for she works at home, has a nice system at home. But when she comes into the office once a week, she wants a MacBook. She's using the MacBook, the 2019 MacBook Air. And the nice thing about the MacBook Air, Lexi, is no touch bar. And the new one has a nice keyboard. Yep. But I would say wait for Apple Silicon for that, especially because that may be one of the first Apple Silicon
Unless the
Macs.
Butterfly comes back, which is one of the rumors, Leo.
No, they're not going to bring the Butterfly back.
There's a rumor.
What? Who said that?
Yeah, a $700 12-inch MacBook with a Butterfly keyboard.
Why would anybody
But
do
it's
that
the
to
fixed
themselves?
Butterfly keyboard.
It's not fixed. It sucks.
The fixed.
It still sucks. Still sucks. All right. I'm taking a break from buying stuff right now, except for maybe a Samsung Galaxy Fold 2. But
except for the Mystic Bronze
Except for the
Fold
things
2.
you're buying.
No, but I think it's silly right now to buy an Intel Mac. I just, if you can hold off, I would. And that's, unfortunately, Lisa probably can't hold off. So she'll end up getting.
Well, again, unless you're one of those, unless you have to run Windows on Boot Camp and that's a deal breaker for you. Then just
there'll
get the
be some
last of the
things.
Intel and ride.
Yeah. Let's take a little break, and then I'm going to do a poll of you and to see how many of you are TikTokers. I have in my mind, it seems like Father Robert and Lexi should be TikTokers, and me and
You don't
Renee
see me
shouldn't
slow jamming
be.
the news, Leo? I could slow jam the news on TikTok.
But maybe
Apple,
I'm wrong. Do you got the dance moves? Can you do the
Yeah.
shuffle?
It's got nano texture.
Maybe I'm wrong. And
New iMac.
And by the way, TikTok's almost done. Looks there's about a month left. We'll talk about that. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
All of Tencent. It's huge.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Our show today brought to you by Monday.com. Monday.com is made for what we do. Anybody who has a team. Remember in school when you would get, you'd have to do a science project and you have to create a team, and there'd always be a couple of people who wouldn't do anything. And you'd call them and say, what are you doing? Oh, I'm working hard on it. And you wouldn't really know. And then it would come and your grade would be lousy because they were lazy. And the problem with distributed teams that are working from home, is it's hard to keep track of them, what they're up to. That's why you need Monday.com. If I had Monday.com in high school, I would have had straight A's. It's a team management platform that lets teams plan, manage, and track work in a single centralized place. So you always know who's doing what their progress is. It's a great way to collaborate without meetings. Whether you work with a little team, 5 people, whether you work with a big team of 5,000, Monday.com. It's the easiest way to keep everybody connected and on track. So many people working from home now. Monday.com is the project management platform that makes effective teamwork possible, even as we work from home. I'll tell you a few things I really like about Monday.com. One, we didn't have to abandon the tools we already use. We're big on Slack here. We use email a lot. We also Zoom a lot. We use calendars, spreadsheets, most importantly, Google Docs. I love it because it all goes into Monday.com. Monday.com doesn't replace it. It becomes the dashboard, so all the work is in one place and you know what everybody's doing. It makes it so much easier to track and manage without check-in meetings. You have a single a point of truth, so there's never any question. And if you use data to make decisions, every boss does, isn't it nice to have all the data in one place so you're not guessing? You actually know what's going on. I love the no-code automations, by the way. Your workflow is on autopilot. You'll get alerts, automatic status updates, project flows will keep your team on track, confident they're doing the right thing. Track progress, timelines, budgets, and look at it the way you want to look at it. Whatever it is, you're used to, whether it's a Gantt chart or a Kanban board or table, spreadsheet style table, whatever way you want to look at it, Monday.com is so flexible. We actually got some help from Eddie. On request, you can get an onboarding specialist who will help you. Eddie said, oh yeah, for podcasting, we've got these templates. It was really simple. He knew exactly what we needed. It's just amazing. It's a whole new way of working. No wonder over 100,000 teams are already getting things done with Monday.com. They've even changed how often they have to meet. They've changed their workflow, their work process, all without any effort. That's what I like. Change the way you work online. Let Monday.com take care of what slows you down and free up time to focus on the work that drives you. Start your 14-day free trial right now. Go to Monday, monday.com/twit. Monday.com/twit. It's the new way to manage your work. Monday.com/twit. Hey, we had a lot of fun this week. I don't know, did the After Hours make it into the promo? Oh. Who won the cooking competition yesterday? I didn't get to see it. I'll have to watch it. Looked like it was a lot of fun. John, what were the special ingredients? Do you know? Yeah. Were they weird and wild? Chat room would know. Lou won it? Lou MM won it?
Soylent Green, I believe, was the
They
mystery
didn't send him
ingredient.
Soylent.
It was canned chicken.
Canned chicken.
A whole chicken in a can.
A whole? Wait a minute, with the bones and everything?
Yep. The secret ingredient, unfortunately, didn't work out because it didn't. Only for Ant was it wrapped separately, but everybody else got to see the crickets. That was supposed to be the special secret ingredient.
Crickets.
Yeah, and the guest judges were fun, and of course, Micah hosting.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
And Lou MM.
Yeah.
From Twyett, our new champion, beating the incumbent Ant Pruitt. So much
representing the enterprise side.
Yeah, he took over from you. Yeah. He's pretty good, apparently. Yeah. Crunchy protein, we call it, not crickets.
Oh.
That's much better.
You ate those with Kevin Rose.
I don't mind. I love them. I'll eat anything.
Oh.
Let's take a look, though. We do have a video montage of some of the things that happened this week on Twit.
Previously on Twit.
My hat doesn't even fit on the screen. We were talking about big bunny ears.
Oh, yeah. Somebody out there Photoshop Leo with Marge's hair, please, and thank you.
Twit News.
This is actually kind of interesting. I might have to get one of these just to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you should.
A whole new experience.
they've really doubled down on this. They said, no, we're going to make a folding phone. We're going to make it work.
Security Now.
We don't know what ransom was finally paid, but it seems more certain than ever that Garmin did pay up.
I understand how hard it is to remediate after a ransomware attack. But if you have a backup of your data, there'd be no reason to pay the ransom, right?
Right.
So this is an implication that Garmin didn't have a copy of its data?
Tech News Weekly.
Can you talk just briefly about TikTok revealing its algorithms, how they work?
No tech company ever wants to reveal its true algorithms because then there can be very easily gamed. But at the end of the day, there are so many different things that could change in the code that I don't think this is the end-all be-all of transparency.
Windows Weekly.
It's Cortana-geddon.
Give it a different name. Like Cortana has now become Diana.
Twit.
Obsoleta.
Or if you're on a Commodore 64, it's Twit, 8, 1.
Oh. Deep cut.
Is that a poke or a peek? So actually, that's a Garmin. Apparently now we're hearing paid $10 million to the ransomware authors to get their data back. Maybe you can answer this question. Steve said no. If you had a good offline backup, you shouldn't have to pay ransomware authors, right?
It kind of depends. If you are patient and you manage to infiltrate a network with ransomware, you wait. You wait a month, you wait 2 months, you wait 3 months. You wait until every single backup has ransomware on it.
So you could do that. In fact, I was reading I mentioned this before, Bloomberg Business Week had a really good kind of minute-by-minute chronology of the Norsk Hydro ransomware attack of last year. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't pay a ransom, but the bad guys got into the network 3 months before they actually triggered the attack. So that's why you do that. You can see where the backups are stored. You can make sure that you encrypt stuff gradually so that the backups become superannuated. $10 million. The other reason you might pay that is because everything's down. And yeah, you might have backups, but the process of getting back up and running might be worth $10 million to you. It just seems such a bad policy to pay that, because that just tells everybody, yep, it pays to ransom.
You're also giving them a war chest. And every time you pay a ransom, you're letting them expand their operations.
Right. Wow. And as somebody in the CJC in the chat room, you're taking a big chance that these guys you're going to pay them $10 million and they're going to give you anything. They must have had some sort of way of validating that. It must have been cheaper for them to pay as much as that was.
Yes, it absolutely would be cheaper because disrupting business operations for a company is worth more than $10 million.
Sure. If it's 5 weeks or 4 weeks, yeah.
But I mean, it really is the principle of the thing. The thing is, you're not alone. You are setting a precedent for your entire industry.
Yeah.
And if everyone starts paying, the attacks get more sophisticated, they get better funded, they get better equipment, they get more infrastructure, they get a deeper hold. So you are funding something that very likely will come around and hit you again.
Sigh. Just depressing.
Yeah.
Hope I never have to deal with that. I ask Russell, our IT guy, every time I see him. We're okay, right? I mean, it's nowadays with employees off site. Their email isn't being protected in the way it's protected locally. There's just all sorts of issues that come up. Scary. Let's see. Let's talk about TikTok. So I guessed that, Robert, you must be a TikToker.
The only TikTok I know are the Intel upgrade cycles.
No, those are TikTok, talk, optimize, optimize.
Right. It's all talk now.
I did see a TikTok priest. So there are priests on TikTok.
Yes, there are.
And they remind me of, some of them remind me of you. They're very smart, fun, interesting. It's kind of cool to see these now some of them are just dressed up as priests, okay, but it's kind of cool to see these actual
I have done
priests on TikTok.
Consultations for priests who have asked me what kind of equipment, how they should do their productions, and I'm more than willing to help. I don't really want to get into that. I don't want to do that. No, I won't do that.
This is a Polish priest who is
that's some holy rolling.
Pretty good dancer.
He's got moves.
I feel like the church doesn't mind this so much because it shows that priests are people, and they are.
We really aren't, Leo.
We
really aren't.
Okay.
No. No, I get it, and this has hit a lot more than any other social media activity.
Is this a real priest? Wait a minute, Father Tim. He's paddleboarding. I think he is.
Kind of looks like, although, I mean, in the United States, a priest wearing a cassock is not
very common. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Is that a crocodile? Is that a crocodile?
There was a Father Tim podcaster for a long time who was great. I really enjoyed him. Here's the papal challenge. See how long you keep a soccer ball.
No, that's a roll of toilet paper.
Oh.
That's the papal. I get it now.
Oh, okay. I get it. It's a papal. P-A-P-E-L. Lexi, are you a talker?
I'm a talk lurker.
Yeah, a lurker.
I can't dance or sing or lip sync to save my life. So, those instant ways to become TikTok famous, I don't think would, they just don't work for me. I like observing and I love the algorithm. It's kind of like why Snapchat was so appealing back in, when it first came out. Just like it opens straight to the camera on Snapchat. It opens straight to like stuff you actually want to watch on TikTok. So you can spend hours.
That's my problem. My only problem with it, honestly, is it's a 2-hour time sink.
Yeah.
You can't stop TikToking.
What are we doing with our time in quarantine? Look, I don't even know what time it is. I don't know what day it is. So
I feel a little guilty,
TikTok
but not that bad. It's funny.
You know what TikTok is?
What?
TikTok is what Quibi wanted to be.
Well, I've said this before, and I think this is a really good example. Yeah. So, and this is why I'm kind of irritated with the White House, because I think that they're picking here we are, we're talking about big tech. We brought Mark Zuckerberg to testify before Congress about he's too big. You're too dominant. here's this little upstart social media network that is now the most popular in the world, beating Instagram with the kids anyway, certainly beating Snapchat. And now you want to put it out of business because it's Chinese. It's kind of annoying to me. I think this is, first of all, a couple of things I really like about it is it's a new medium. And the kids who are using it, you would never see them on Quibi. The Quibi model is you raise $2 billion. Yeah. You hire Hollywood producers, shooters, camera operators, talent. You produce very expensive programming in 7-minute chunks. Next step, profit.
And nobody watches.
And nobody watched it because the problem with the Hollywood model is all of the expenses up front, all the effort is up front, and you hope that something will become a hit. Most movies are flops, but if 1 in 10 is a hit, it makes so much money, it pays for all the rest. Profit. That was the Quibi model. TikTok model is much more like the YouTube model. You create something attractive that people like to use to create, a tool that people like to make stuff with. You create a platform where they're reinforced for their work, that people like them and share it, and they get the feedback they like, not money, just the positive strokes, and people will start creating millions of videos, and then you use that algorithm to surface the stuff people want.
Yeah.
Now that's the system, and it's the exact opposite of the Hollywood system.
It's like YouTube and Facebook on Hulk serum. Like their algorithm is so good at showing you exactly what you want to watch over and over and over again. And it's why like Instagram cloning it into
Reels.
Not stories, but Reels. It doesn't work because they're just doing the dancing. They're not showing you the dances you want to see. They don't have the algorithm that TikTok figured out. And I think that's part of it, that one of the ways that got people scared, because we've seen Facebook misuse algorithms to say, we're going to make you sad now, or we're going to make you happy now. And they're terrified that kind of algorithm will be used to further agendas that are outside of general
what
interest,
the president
like
has
Facebook.
implied is that the TikTok's spying on you. And
the answer is yes. Of course they are. They're all spying on you. That's the point. That's how they make their money. In fact, the biggest spy of information would be Palantir, which is paid by the government.
Yeah.
So the question is, they're spying on you, therefore they're bad. They're spying on you for somebody else, and we don't know who they're spying on you for.
Well, the fear is because they're a Chinese-owned company that maybe, but I don't honestly think, what's the Chinese government going to learn from spying on me? But you said something, Renee, that actually could be a problem.
It's the other way around. It's like all of a sudden your feed is telling you Hong Kong protesters are bad. It's that sort of opinion. And we've seen this with Facebook and how they're out, and YouTube, and how they radicalize and red pill and extreme, like turn people into extremists by I will YouTube for one megalodon video to find out about the historical animal, and I will get deep sea conspiracy theories for a month on YouTube. And all of that, same on Facebook. Like people start looking for things and they become increasingly radicalized. And the fear is that this will be used by a nation state other than a U.S. conglomerate that has a reckless disregard for the privacy and mental health of its user base.
There was actually a Black Hat presentation on this, right, Robert?
Yep. Renee DiResta. So what she did, she's been doing analysis of this for a long time. She's at Stanford at their Internet Center. And she said they're starting to see that state-sponsored actors are fine-tuning the process of driving social media to influence. It's no longer just, we want to ruin a reputation or we want to sow discord. That's sort of generation 1 or maybe even generation 2 of using the internet to do this. This is driving particular sentiments.
Yes.
And they're getting so good at it.
The irony
it's almost
is
impossible to detect.
The state actors that are doing this from Russia, and mostly from Russia, are not using TikTok to do it. They're using American
Facebook.
Companies like Facebook and Twitter.
Like yesterday, they said a lot of the anti-mask stuff. Well, not a lot of it, but some of the anti-mask stuff was coming through Russian bots, which, of course.
So, so there is a potential threat from TikTok, although I've never seen anything on TikTok that has any social, any serious. It's mostly dance moves and jokes. I suppose TikTok could be used that way. Is there evidence that it has been used that way by the Chinese government?
Well,
It's
you can
really
use
hard
it to find which way the zeitgeist is moving. So what TikTok
But you don't need to own it to do that.
You don't.
You don't any more than Fancy Bear needs to own Twitter or Facebook to use it. And they could just as easily use TikTok if they could work the algorithm. I think TikTok's actually tougher for them to work.
Yeah, there's no
the way the theory works is that you have a very fine, granular scope as to what people are paying attention to each and every single minute. And if you can tie into that, I mean, it's not just a matter of knowing where to push, it's knowing when to push. TikTok gives you the ability to know when to push.
All right. So, I mean, I like you, Lexi, I'm a TikTok lurker. I would love watching TikTok. I'm actually, even though my business is making videos just like yours, I am intimidated. I don't feel like I have anything to add.
Are you a K-pop stan, Leo? Are you on there?
I wish I could dance like that. I wish I could do something, but I don't feel like any TikTok wants to see me. How about you, Renee? Have you done any TikToking?
I ignored it for too long, and then I couldn't get my username like I have everywhere else. I'm like Renee Ritchie 2. I don't even remember.
Somebody's got Renee Ritchie?
No, you know, I found out about it on MacBreak Weekly from Alex Lindsay when he was explaining why like Charli D'Amelio had so much appeal and how he was doing green screen. Like he was bringing ILM to a TikTok fight, which is hilarious to me. And that's I started looking at it, and there are some it is an incredibly engaging platform, and people love it because your acceleration to popularity on TikTok is way faster than anything we've ever seen before, like way faster than YouTube. You can go from 0 to 1 million followers if you have the talent and skill to pull off engaging videos. TikTok will find you an audience fast.
So the president has wanted to ban TikTok. He couldn't figure out a way to do it. But I think might have found a way with executive order. He's going to prohibit Americans from having any transactions with the parent company ByteDance starting September 20th. That means TikTok can't pay influencers. Advertisers can't buy ads. TikTok's response to that is we will help influencers move to another platform. We will pay, it will make sure that everybody we owe money to gets paid before September 20th. The plan B, and it's very unclear because the president goes back and forth on this, is to have some American company acquire at least the American operations of TikTok. Microsoft's been negotiating to buy the Australian, American, Canadian, and I think UK rights to TikTok. They have until the 15th.
They'd rewrite it in .NET, and that'd be effectively killing it. That's a clever plan.
Give it to Microsoft.
Bill Gates has said it's a poison pill.
He did say that. I saw that interview. Yeah. Really good interview with Bill Gates, by the way. Highly recommend that. Where was that? I just saw it. Read it this morning. It was with Stephen Levy. Was it in Wired?
Yeah. You also have to remember that the way that the executive order was written, he knows you can't block it. And he doesn't even have the knowledge to understand how that would even be possible. So he's stopping financial transactions. The problem is the companies that he's trying to stop the financial transactions with own like 60% of the gaming landscape.
Yeah.
Or they have interest in 60%
WeChat
of the gaming
and
landscape.
Tencent. And the other problem is he had to declare a national emergency. So apparently TikTok is now a national emergency.
Oh, excellent.
Not COVID-19, not Russian efforts to influence the election. Sometimes I feel like maybe I feel like there's a larger agenda from the White House. It has to do with the trade war. It has to do with pay no attention to Russia. No, I'm not celebrating the Chinese government. They're repressive. What they've done to the Uyghurs is shocking and disappointing and, horrible. And there was some evidence that maybe TikTok was doing something to keep black creators down or to keep overweight people, although I see plenty of overweight people on TikTok now. So they clearly fixed that algorithm. I just don't see TikTok as that big of a threat. And I'm a little disappointed for the creators who found this incredible medium to make something really amazing. And I often even feel like maybe the president doesn't like the fact that he's being made fun of on TikTok and that TikTokers registered for his Tulsa campaign rally and didn't show up. And it seems to be personal. He says,
but it totally makes sense because I mean, if you ban TikTok, those people will totally not go anywhere else. I mean, they'll stop.
Remember with Vine, Twitter closed Vine, and that became a lot of the huge YouTubers now.
Well, by the way, that's the other chilling story that Twitter is trying to get TikTok, which that's the best thing to do if you want to kill TikTok. Just give it to Twitter.
I know. Yeah, good thing Twitter never had anything like TikTok.
Ay. Actually, Twitter doesn't have nearly the money that it would take to buy TikTok. TikTok's going to be well over $30 billion if it is sold to Microsoft.
And the whole thing is interesting. Like, you could ban TikTok the same way that the Great Firewall bans Twitter and Facebook, just by preventing the app from being downloaded and firewalling off the servers. But how do you separate it out so that I'm on Canadian and American TikTok, you're on UK TikTok? Can we not see each other anymore? Yeah. Can we, but the data is stored somewhere else?
It's just unclear.
There's just so many questions that people who don't have no idea how software and services work seem to want to manipulate.
People have accused me of saying, oh, you're soft on China, you're giving it a pass. And apparently there were big fights in the White House over that as well. But I just don't see TikTok as a threat. There are some serious threats that are being completely ignored from Russia on Facebook and Twitter that are just being downplayed and ignored, while TikTok seems to be the poster child for problems. And incidentally, it won't stop with TikTok. This is really about Chinese products and Chinese apps. And that is really challenging.
It's about privacy. If you are really concerned about TikTok being able to track what U.S. citizens are doing, it's not just TikTok. It's Facebook. It's Twitter. It's Google. It's everybody who has a cloud presence.
Well, so similarly, if you're worried
about that,
if you're worried about how it could be used by foreign actors to influence us, you're not stopping it on Facebook and Twitter. It's not the ownership of the company that matters. Anybody can use TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter to do that. You just have to game the algorithm.
Yeah. But there's that whole data repatriation thing we were talking about a while ago, when countries like China and France started saying they wanted the data for their citizens stored on servers that were located within those countries. I think Australia and a couple other countries, because ironically, they didn't trust necessarily Chinese or U.S. servers because they didn't feel like they had their best, things like FISA warrants and things like that. They didn't feel like they had the best interests of their citizens in mind. And I think we're still going to see an upswell of data repatriation laws globally as time goes on.
It goes beyond that, and that is a country can ask for the data on servers that are contained on servers in their country, in their territory.
TikTok stores American data in America and backs it up in Singapore, according to TikTok.
Yep,
that's all right.
And maybe Canadian data in the U.S. Like, it's very expensive to have an entire data center in every single country.
Yeah. And I also worry that at some point you're going to see the Chinese lose their patience. And there are quite a few American companies that do a lot of business in China, including Apple.
Apple is hard because the hardware is such an important part of the economy of southern China.
Like, they couldn't turn that off.
To shut down Apple hardware would devastate Shenzhen and all the companies and all the workers there. But Apple services could be an easy target. And it is interesting because right now some people see a disparity. Like, China will not accept anyone saying anything about Chinese policy. Like you saw when the NBA commented about Hong Kong or other people, they were furious. But it goes one way. They don't mind commenting at all on how the U.S. or Canada or other countries. And the same way, they get upset if Chinese services like Huawei or something are not allowed access into Western markets. But they have no qualms about banning Twitter and Facebook and all the services in China. And I think it's I forget who said it. It might have been Ben Thompson, because he lives in Taiwan. He's really smart about this, that we insist on viewing China from an American point of view, and we very seldom take the opportunity to look at America from a Chinese point of view.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is where it's heading. In 5 years, this is the fragmentation of the internet. This is what we've been talking about at Twit for the last decade, which is you've got the Great Firewall of China. They're doing that in Russia. They're doing that in Saudi Arabia. They're doing that in Venezuela. We now have a administration that wants to do the same thing in the United States.
Do we not want to have I don't think it's right. I think we condemn those countries for doing that. It's bad for them and it's bad for the world. Do we want to have a Great Firewall of America?
That's where we're headed.
Oh, I mean, we don't, but there's like the thing about Twitter that's so interesting and social network in general is that volume is mistaken for like amount of people. Like they'll say you're gonna if you say this, half your viewers are gonna be upset, and really it's like half of 1%. They're just incredibly loud. And I think that's what's happening here, is that there's a sentiment of quid pro quo. If you hit us, we hit you back. That's very different than when we're like, oh, we'll just send Beatles tapes and blue jeans to Russia. It'll be fine. We don't have to act like Russia. We have to act like the West, and Russia will see it's better to be this way. Yeah. And that trend has been curtailed significantly over the last few years.
Yeah. State Department is offering a bounty of $10 million for information that helps it catch state hackers trying to meddle in the 2020 election. The Rewards for Justice program. We already know that Russia has tried to get involved. I thought it was kind of interesting that they talked about Russia, which is actually doing things, and then they mentioned China and other countries who have an interest, and Iran who have an interest in winning, who wins, but aren't necessarily actually doing anything, as if it's related.
The same thing.
Yeah. Right. We'll see. This is the third reward offered by the RFJ for foreign hackers this year. They had a $5 million reward in April for information on North Korean government hackers. They offered 2 bounties of $1 million apiece on 2 specific Ukrainian hackers. I'm not sure if these bounties have accomplished anything, but they're out there. So get to work, kids. You could make some money. Yeah.
The State Department asking for help in identifying those who might be inviting or helping foreign powers interfere in our election is sort of like O.J. Simpson offering a bounty for the real killers of Nicole.
Okay, that's what... Wow. Intel. God, not just trouble, kind of
one drama, Leo.
Just nonstop drama. Now it turns out they were infiltrated. There's a 20 gigabyte breach of internal documents marked confidential, restricted secrets. There's source code. There's plans, intellectual property, chipset designs, technical specs. Were they breached? I mean, it goes back to 2016. Intel has confirmed that this is, in fact, their stuff. They're investigating. How bad is this for Intel? Or is it just embarrassing?
Both.
We don't really know, I guess.
That's proprietary intellectual property. You don't want anyone to have that.
Yeah.
But I mean, unfortunately, this is kind of the least of their worries right now.
I know, honestly. There's nothing we don't already know.
They're worried about exploits. Like they're worried about another meltdown being revealed by people sifting through the documents.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if there is anything in there, they'll...
you've got AMD with the Ryzen architecture just kicking their butt up and down with the performance index. You've got Apple moving away from Intel. You've got NVIDIA looking at becoming its own processor manufacturer so that they could be the provider for enterprise and for data centers. Intel, they're in trouble. They're in serious trouble.
Intel downplayed it, saying the information comes from the Intel Resource and Design Center, which hosts information for use by our partners who have registered for access. We think an individual who has registered for access downloaded and shared the data. ZDNet says, in fact, it doesn't look like that. It was stored on an insecure Akamai CDN, and a hacker just found it.
This is like the equivalent of an unsecured S3 basket.
It happens all the time. An X3 bucket. Yeah, it happens all the time. And I guess it just happened again. It
was the one right next to where the Galaxy Note renders were stored. And the Pixel 5 images. That was all that stuff on the same unsecured server now.
Am I the only one who feels bad for Intel? It feels like they can't catch a break.
I know. Well,
I mean, I love the company.
I guess in a way they brought it on themselves. I don't know. We have many friends now. Ryan Shrout, Alan Malventano, both went to Intel to work in marketing. It's not too late to come back, guys.
They lost their engineering focus. It's sort of like when Steve Ballmer took over at Microsoft, and they were very good at selling what was, but they were willing to sacrifice what could be to keep selling it. And it feels like when Intel went away from having engineering and technical leads and started putting marketing people in charge, it was the same thing. It's like these server chips are bringing in a fortune, and that success hid all of these problems. And underneath them, there was just no direction on the engineering and their process. Their architecture slipped, and they said, 7 nanometer is not going to be affected by the slowdown in 10 nanometer. It's a different thing. It turns out that's affected too, because same problem, different symptom.
Do you remember when AMD released the Athlon? And it was incredible. And Intel was able to respond within a couple of months with their next generation architecture, which told everyone they had it. They were sitting on it so that they could milk their current line of processors. Well, they haven't been able to do that. So they don't have a response to Ryzen.
Right.
It was same thing with Qualcomm. They were sitting on 64-bit because they wanted to recoup as much money as they could on 32-bit. And then the A7 came out, and they had it. They had to rush to market. And that only works when you have competent engineering teams who have that technology.
Are you using? You're using Athlon now, right, Robert?
I've got split. So half of my systems are still Intel and half are Ryzen.
But if you were going to build a new one?
Ryzen, 100%.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Not even close.
And Zen 3 is coming, right? It's going to be even better. And and Big Navi is coming. It's going to be even better in graphics. They're just firing on all 5-nanometer cylinders right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the budget Ryzen processors are better than the mainstream Intel processors.
It just breaks my heart. What talk about fumbling. And honestly, we need Intel to be a strong competitor. It's important for everybody.
We used to say that about AMD.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, AMD, for keeping Intel honest.
Trouble. Remember with Pentium, and then they came out with the core architecture.
Titanium.
Titanium, and they came out with the core architecture. And there's no sign they have that in their back pocket this time. They're going to have to work hard.
That's why all my money. I'm pushing in all my chips on Apple Silicon.
Well, but it's going to be purpose built. Like, they're not building a general purpose.
Right.
They're not building merchant silicon. And the huge advantage they have there is that, for example, if you are doing that, you have to support OpenGL and Vulkan and stuff on Linux, and you have to support DirectX and its ilk for Windows, and you have to make a profit on the chip, your profit and loss based on the chip. Where Apple, they just care about making money on the whole device, and that means they don't wait on 64-bit. They don't wait on anything. They run as fast as they can, specifically for what the hardware they're building. So it's a very different proposition.
Right. Lexi, I feel like we're leaving you out of this conversation. Did you just go make a Jaffle while we were talking here?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was making a Jaffle and building a PC with the latest Ryzen chip.
Good. Thank you.
It's so interesting because I do remember back in the day when I was, in my PC building era, it was Intel, AMD, and if you chose an AMD chip, you were just like, what are you doing? Why?
Right.
Why? There's no reason to do that. And it's just so interesting as, someone who hasn't been following that as closely to just sort of come back into the sphere and go, hang on a minute, what has happened?
Where did these
AMD
guys
is
come
now
from?
making these, it's like, Ryzen, what the heck? Where did that come from? It's just really interesting to see, the battle flipped on its head. So I mean, I, as an interested observer, rather than as someone who is deep into the weeds with it all the time, I just welcome the competition. And considering that I built my first PC in a very, very long time, and I chose to do it with the new AMD Ryzen, the cheaper one that just came out, there was a reason why I chose that. I didn't even look at choosing an Intel. It was just so interesting to sort of have that completely flipped. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we live in interesting times. That's all I can say. What a year, what a decade. Wow. Our show today brought to you by a mattress. This is high tech with just the right amount of both sink and bounce. I don't know how they do it, but they've done it. We love our Casper mattresses, and I say that in plural. Casper kind of invented this whole idea of, instead of having a store, a middleman that marks it up 100%, why don't we sell direct to customers? But first, they had to engineer an amazing mattress, and that's what they did. The original Casper mattress, cleverly designed to mimic human curves, giving supportive comfort for all kinds of bodies. You spend a third of your life sleeping. You should be comfortable. The original Casper combines multiple supportive memory foams for a quality sleep surface with the right amount of both sink and bounce. Its breathable design helps you sleep cool on these hot summer nights. I'm so glad. It regulates your body temperature throughout the night. Now, this is not the original. I am now rocking the Casper Hybrid. I love this mattress. Combines the pressure relief of the award-winning foam with durable yet gentle springs. Even Sammy, our little black and white cat, just loves. Here she comes. To spend a little time with me on the Casper. Even she loves it. They come in those little surprisingly compact boxes. That's a king-size mattress. You open it up and it's ready to go. First night, breathes wonderful. They've also got the Wave, which features a patent-pending premium support system to mirror the natural shape of your body. The Essential, which is great for kids or college students. It's streamlined design at a price that won't keep you up at night. Over 20,000 reviews with an average of 4.8 stars on the Casper site, Amazon, and Google. It is rapidly becoming the internet's favorite mattress. I know it's Sammy's favorite mattress. And you know what's great about it? You don't have to go to a mattress store to try a mattress before you buy. Casper has a 100-night sleep-on-it trial, absolutely risk-free. Free shipping to the U.S. and Canada. If for any reason it's not right within the first 100 nights, call them. They'll come, they'll take it away, refund you every penny. No risk. That's in the U.S. and Canada. I love Casper. There's all the mattresses. Here's what you do. Go to casper.com/twit1 and get a Casper mattress today. You could save $100 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/twit1. You got to use the offer code TWIT1 at checkout. That's on mattresses. Terms and conditions apply. But while you're there, check out the pillows, the sheets, the Casper Glow Light. They've done everything to make your most important 8 hours of the day just nice, just relaxing. Wouldn't you love to sleep perfectly on a Casper? Casper.com/twit1, and the offer code is twit1 at checkout for that $100 on select mattresses. Casper. Shh, don't wake up anybody. Shh. Turns out Google's been listening again. God dang it.
To customer feedback?
To every single Google Home device. Without permission or authorization, they accidentally turned on a feature that allowed its AI-based assistant to activate automatically and listen to what's going on. Normally, it waits for the, hey, you know who. People noticed that their Google Homes have been recording random sounds without any wake word, because they would get notifications on their phone that showed the device had heard things like a smoke alarm beeping. Well, this is for safety, right? You could turn that off. It's
supposed to be hardware limited. Like, you're supposed to have the wake words in hardware, and that hardware gates until you hear the hardware locked wake words. There is no internet connection. So it should be physically impossible for this stuff to happen by now.
Apparently it isn't. Google, this comes with news that Google invested $450 million in ADT. So it looks like they want to get in the home security business. Although Stacey Higginbotham, I think, nailed it when she said the real reason that Google wants to get in bed with ADT, besides that lovely Casper mattress, is ADT has 20,000 installers in the U.S. who will now be able to help people set up their Google Nest products as well. And that's like a big Salesforce. I don't mind my...
Isn't it great to think that in the future your house will be spying on you?
Oh, come on.
No, so I have a thing, like, I really, like, this is my answer to Mark Zuckerberg and to Sundar Pichai and all of them. It's just criminalize data theft the same way that theft of anything else is criminalized.
I agree.
And I'm not saying accident. Like, if it's an accident and you can prove it was a bug or something, that's fine. You know, like, maybe you pay a fine or something. But if it was like, I turned off location and you knew that I turned off location and you still recorded my location, that's CEO jail time. And I think these companies would super quickly clean up their act.
Sit up and take notice.
Yeah.
And not only did you still record that location, but you sold it. So you actively profited from a crime.
And they do steal, like, they kept saying, we don't sell your data, it's way too valuable. But then they get caught, like, selling it to developers. Like, that was the whole Facebook scandal with Analytica. It was selling data.
Alphabet, if it's any consolation, saw its first revenue decline in history. But it was from search revenue dropping. I think this is a COVID decline. Of course, YouTube views went up.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. Why would it go down if people are staying home and living on the internet?
Advertisers panicked. They didn't want to. One of the first budgets you cut is advertising and marketing budgets. Yes. I think it's dumb. I think you invest in that stuff because every company that's done well has sort of invested.
Now's the time. That's right.
They panicked.
Yeah. They did. I think they're coming back. We noticed that too with our advertisers, but they seem to be coming back, and we're getting new advertisers who, exactly like you, recognize this is the time. Here's your chance to
We're
steal.
a captive audience, literally a captive audience, right?
Yeah,
here.
what else are they going to do? They're not going to the movie theaters.
Casper
They're
now.
not going outside.
Thank you.
Similar article from Bloomberg, with COVID crushing advertising, YouTubers are turning to subscriptions. Have you noticed that? You're a YouTuber, Renee, and have you considered subscriptions?
So the feature turned on for me recently. I didn't have it until very, very recently, and I haven't done much with it yet. But I never wanted to put all my eggs in the YouTube basket, so I use sponsors like Twit does for the first 30 days. Only then do I turn on AdSense. And I don't use YouTube subscriptions, but I have Patreon because I wanted it in a different bucket. But I haven't really figured out what to do with YouTube subscriptions yet.
Jerry Dyer's Big Jet TV is the example Bloomberg uses. He offers two tiers of subscription, first class and super class. You know what he does? This is why I love YouTube. His entire business, it revolves around going to airports and filming videos of planes taking off and landing.
Hey, there's an audience.
There is.
It's a plane ASMR. Is that what it is?
I don't know. 85,000 followers, and he's charging $5 for the base subscription and $20, this is a month, for special big jet programming because it's paying for his tickets to go to airports like Schiphol and in the Netherlands to take videos of planes. We're trying to grab a video of the rarely seen Emirates 747 freighter.
I mean, it sounds silly until you realize that people made millions of dollars opening up children's toys.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. God bless YouTube. I think that's fantastic. Network television is not going to give the guy like this an outlet. But the fact that he can make money on YouTube doing that is great.
Or Dad, How Do I? The guy got like millions of subscribers, not overnight, of course, but like very quickly because nobody knew how to tie a tie or fix a hinge or anything like that.
I've actually often thought I should have really made that channel because, that's...
Well, you could do it for Tech, Leo. He's doing handiwork.
A question for everybody, a question for everyone on the panel, and that is, do you remember the year where you flipped from spending more time on TV and spending more time on the internet?
That's an interesting question.
Yes.
The younger you are, the more, I'm still watching a lot of TV. Lexi, you're probably, you watch TV or YouTube?
Mix of both, just because there's a glut of streaming services and, with all the time in the world, let's try it all. There's a lot of TV to watch. I think, the tipping point for me was when I moved to the US and all of the streaming services and YouTube just opened up for me. So I think it was probably a little later just because in Australia, internet connectivity was not particularly good, at least for much of the country. It is improving, but it's nowhere near the level of access and, fiber and stuff that is in the US. So the reach of YouTube and, other video services like Vimeo, it wasn't as good of an experience as it is here. And so that, I think, stopped my interest in sort of getting into watching YouTube primarily for a little while. But yeah, that was probably like 6-7 years ago now. So, I would have been much earlier had the internet been good enough.
Chat room, I'm surprised at some of the years people are coming up with to answer your question, Robert. 2008? 2000? 96. I think Carson's making that up. When did YouTube start? It didn't start till 2004 or 5, right? What about you, Robert? Do you watch a lot of YouTube?
I can tell you exactly. It was 2013 because when I moved in 2013 from DC to San Francisco, I no longer had a TV.
Oh.
At all. I still don't. I don't watch TV, period. The only thing I watch on TV right now is F1 racing.
Our 17-year-old, soon-to-be 18-year-old Michael, I don't think I've ever seen him watch TV. We have to force him. It's torture. Sit down and watch a show with us. He says, I don't like your shows.
My godkids a while ago went to their grandparents and were watching, and they had like cable TV, and they're like, "What is this? Why can't we choose what we want to watch? Why is this fixed? What is this? A commercial? What is a commercial?
What is this?"
That's awesome.
Meanwhile, Michael will always be streaming YouTube, like he's eating dinner. Everything YouTube's with him 24/7.
They play a video game while watching someone play a video game on YouTube.
Yes, literally, and talking to his friends.
Yeah.
People talk about saying, $30 for Mulan is easy because, I mean, if I've got a household, but can you actually get a household to sit for 2 hours and watch one thing?
No.
Yes, as long as they have a phone in their hand and they're on the second screen.
That's exactly what happens. Michael says, all right, I'll sit with you. And then he is watching his YouTube while he pretends to watch TV with us. So I think it has to do with age more than anything. I think my son, same thing. He hasn't watched TV probably ever. I think we watched The Office when it was on, and that was the last thing he watched. So good question, Robert. Yeah. But what really has happened, I think, mostly is not that YouTube has pushed TV out. Maybe it has for the youngs. But that it's just become a complement. So now we just have, like you said, Lexi, we have an infinite amount of content to watch. Although it's a little depressing. There's no new movies. I want to watch
Well, it's going to be even worse next year.
YouTube tells me which shows I want to watch because I will watch clips and I'll go, okay, I'll invest in a season.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how this works.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
But it's instant gratification. That's why TV can't compete, like at least traditional TV, because it was fixed programming, fixed length. You have to be willing to sit through commercials. And there's ads on YouTube, but you can stop, start, go everywhere. And we know, we know this through everything, even video games. People will not pay for something, but they'll pay for like instant and ego gratification. They'll pay unlimited amounts of money for that. And that's what a lot of social feeds and YouTube videos and streaming services capitalize on. And I forget what it was, but someone said they had to change their entire TV show because there was a video explaining how they changed that Arlo Finch movie when they realized it was going to go onto Disney Plus. They basically redid the entire beginning of the movie. And if you watch it, no one talks on camera because they had to change everything and then do everything through ADR. Because if someone goes to the movie theater, they watch the whole movie and there's word of mouth. But on a streaming service, if you don't get what you want in the first 5 minutes, you switch to something else. So they couldn't make him a villain in the movie because they thought it would turn off people on streaming services who weren't stuck there for the entire movie to find out that he's redeemed. They had to change the entire movie to make him redeemed at the beginning, just not to alienate viewers. And I lost my mind watching this.
That's depressing. Now, Arlo Finch is a young adult fiction, so
yes,
they're aiming at 16, 15, 14-year-olds. But still, that is a depressing thought that we will not be able to have anything that's at all complicated. Because if it
requires a time investment.
If it doesn't get you in 5 minutes, it's over.
They thought he was unlikable and people would stop watching the stream, so they had to fix that in post, where they wouldn't in a movie theater.
Lexi, I bet you.
But we've done that before.
I bet you spend more time
look at what
making
Fox
TV.
did to Firefly.
Oh, they ruined Firefly because they wouldn't show it in order. Why wouldn't they show it in order? What was the rationale?
Because they said, they don't think that people will wait until episode 3 to actually be invested in the characters.
So they ruined it, basically. Lexi, I bet you spend more time making shows about cooking than you do watching.
You know, that's a really interesting thing because especially during this time, the separation between work and recreation, the line is incredibly blurred. So what I do is create content all the time. And then I sit down and relax and watch content. And it's just like I'm producing it as I'm watching it. So it's really interesting to sort of have that weird disconnect going on in my brain because it's no longer relaxation. It's now just an extension of the day. But I think to the points that we've just already brought up about like change the nature of how content is changing, I don't necessarily know if it's a bad idea. It's a bad thing because it's giving the opportunity to tell stories in a completely different way. And that's kind of what I like about how all of the different streaming services are kind of experimenting with how they're producing content. And we talked earlier about Quibi not doing it the way that is sort of, mobile first, which is what it should have been. It should have been like the TikTok, Instagram model of like creators, and YouTube making content that resonates with a specific audience and doing it really, really well and not necessarily high budget. But, going the other way, making it super high budget and super produced, and the Hollywood model just doesn't translate. And so I think all these platforms are suddenly realizing that. And you see the shows that are being commissioned, on the Hulus, on the HBO Maxes, they're taking more risks, I think, than if they were being produced in another environment. So I kind of like the fact that things are changing and shifting. Maybe that's just because it's the way I kind of grew up watching all of these different forms of content in different spaces and how they all adapt. So I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. it can be used in a really cool way to tell stories. I know that I've been watching so much content over this whole past few months, and I've actually found a lot of really interesting shows. The narratives are totally different to what I would normally go for, and it's just oh, I never thought of doing it like that. That's actually really, really smart. So, some things it's not going to work for everything, but I think for some reason it's not all doom and gloom for absolutely every piece of content. Because if you're sitting down and watching a movie, you're setting yourself up for that experience over 2 hours, and you have to mentally put yourself in that headspace. But if it's on a different platform, you have a little bit more flexibility with the audience, or they're just going to be on their phones. I don't know which one it's going to be. No, it's probably going to be the latter, isn't it?
I don't want to be the old guy that says, oh, it should always be like the way I grew up with long form everything. So my first reaction is, oh my God, you guys have no attention span. but you could do stuff very interesting and very different stuff in short form. Look at TikTok as a perfect example. It's in short form. It's very interesting. So I don't want to be that old guy. Is there going to be
yelling at the clouds?
Yeah. Is there going to be room? Just, I'm asking for a friend. Is there going to be room for 2-hour podcasts in the future?
If commutes come back, absolutely.
it goes around. Look, I mean, for the longest time, TV was stuck in everything reality show.
Oh, that was a bad period, wasn't it?
That was a bad period. Yeah. And you know what? I think a lot of the short format stuff has sort of broken that, and they've realized, okay, we need to change. So I don't think we need to lament too much as we need to make it clear there are certain types of content that we enjoy, and there are certain platforms that serve that content best.
And also, I'm not listening to the Twit podcast as much as I used to, but I'm watching the streams way more than I ever used to. I sit there editing, and I have
you want the company
almost endless streams.
It's more about company now for you.
Yeah. I feel like I'm watching you and Micah and everybody, and I'm like, I'm not alone in the house.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's my background. I mean, working in radio, you realize very quickly you're not a priority. You're not foreground entertainment. You're background. You're in the background. Yeah. And people just like the comforting voice and the kind of murmur going on in the background. Nobody's really listening.
You know what we are? We're Car Talk.
We're Car Talk.
We're Car Talk. No one listened to Car Talk to get real advice. They listened because it was two familiar voices who were sometimes funny, but they were there every single week.
Will people still read?
Pick up the advice.
Will people still read long books or even long articles? Will there be room for long, thoughtful development of ideas, or is it just going to be it's got to hit now or not?
There will always be.
Edward,
there will always be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Axiom N just came out, and it's already on the New York Times bestseller charts. I think that'll always be the case, whether they're reading it as an actual book, or they're reading it on a Kindle, or they're reading it on an iPad, or they're reading it on a fanfic site.
What came out? What is it? What is it?
Lindsay Ellis's Axiom's End.
Is this a big deal that I should know about?
Yeah, Lindsay is a huge internet commentary personality, and this is her first. I think it's her first fiction book.
Oh, a novel in the Numina saga. Numina number 1. Is it sci-fi?
Yep.
Is it good?
I've just started it, but I know Lindsay, and I've seen her videos for a long time. She's done things like deconstructing the Game of Thrones videos and all sorts of things.
So she's been a nonfiction person for a while.
Well, there's a huge, I don't know what the right word is, but there's a huge subculture on YouTube and on the internet in general of people who do hour-long, 1.5 hour-long commentary on what went wrong with Game of Thrones season 3, or is J.K. Rowling
who watches that?
All sorts of things. There's huge numbers of views on those things.
I know.
There's millions of views. There's whole channels that have hour-long videos with 20 million views on them, each one.
Lexi, if you weren't working at CNET, if you weren't working for CBS Interactive, and you were just doing your own thing, what would it be?
Cats? Cats. No.
I'm just teasing.
Definitely not. No, definitely not. I don't know. I love tech. I've been into tech ever since I was a very small girl. I did computer science. I'm like, this is it for life for me. It's going to be creating some sort of tech-related content, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to be. The platforms are all going to shift, and the way it's created is going to shift. It's just that, that's what I love. That's the focus. So
did you start writing or did you start video?
I started coding, actually. That's how I started.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was a programmer. I studied computer science, and then I decided that the programming world was not for me. So I finished that, and then I discovered my love for writing. And then I thought, well, let's just merge the two, see if that's possible. So then video is just the natural kind of, the way I moved afterwards. I came, like you, came from radio background too. So it was just kind of like this perfect storm of all these interests kind of merging together. And then, then they pay me to make videos. So I'm happy about that.
Not a bad life. No, I know.
Look, my house is basically a glorified Best Buy now, so I'm not complaining at all. There's just no room to put anything.
The bad thing about doing this, what we do, Lexi, is it's so easy to do this. You stop writing because writing is such hard work compared to just blathering.
Yes and no. It's actually quite nice to have because we create videos and then usually there's an accompanying article or a piece.
You still have to write, yeah.
Yeah, I still have to write, but it's actually quite interesting because the video is more like this is me, my personality, the free form of thoughts and my experiences using it and, how I think it's what's going to be interesting to the audience. And I kind of try and inject in some of the videos that I do a little bit of humor and a little bit of, that kind of reason why you watch YouTube, right?
Right.
And then you kind of have to shift your brain into going, all right, now let's condense all of those kind of a little bit free form, slightly more unscripted into something that is structured and, written down on paper.
God, that's the part I hate.
And yes, but the thing is, the good thing about it is it actually really helps crystallize your thoughts.
Important.
And then it's
I
so
completely
important.
agree. Yep.
So important. But it is hard because you've done all the work. Like you've made a video and you've poured your heart and soul into it. And then you go, all right, I got to write 1,000 words on this. All right, here we go. Oh, do I have it in me?
Writing is thinking. It's hard work.
Yeah.
Everything is thinking.
Everything. Yeah, but I don't have to think to do this.
That's why I start with the writing. I do the writing first, and then I do the video.
Oh,
do the hard
that
part
would be
first,
easier.
And then you do
That's smart. That's smart. I'm just a glutton for punishment. I like to do the fun thing first, and then I have to go, all right. Yeah.
Me too. I always do the fun thing, and then I forget to do the hard thing. I just don't do it. All right, let's take a little break. More to come with a wonderful panel. Renee Ritchie is slumming with us from Mac Break Weekly. It's so nice to have you. And also youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. From CNET, Lexi Savides, who is so great, so talented, senior editor over there. Got to watch her videos and follow her on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's just my name.
Okay.
It's down there at Lexi Savides.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sat on Twitter and everything. So
great.
I post
great
photos.
Instagram stuff. Yeah. Really good. And, of course, Father Robert, he's the digital Jesuit. People are saying, what's the DJ mean? Are you a DJ? What is the DJ? It's digital Jesuit. And he's actually in his studio in Vatican City, right?
Right outside. That's St. Peter's, right over there.
This is the one you built? Is it upstairs?
I built 3. So this is the one on the roof.
Yeah. And it's above where you live.
Correct.
Nice. When you say roof, you're not outside, though.
Yes. Actually, this is above the roof. It really is a rooftop studio.
Can you show us the view?
Which means it gets incredibly hot.
It's nighttime, so it's dark out there. So.
It is nighttime. Yeah. And I actually had to cover the picture window because the sun is just too bright.
What was this room before you turned it into a studio?
This was a broom closet, and I believe it was a homeless shelter for pigeons and seagulls by the droppings.
Aha. Okay. Just so they gave you some prime real estate.
They didn't give it to me. I may have just started working on it because the door was left open.
They don't even know it's there, do they?
They do now.
Has the Holy Father been upstairs to visit?
Yes, he has.
He has?
Yes.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
What were you doing up there?
He comes over every once in a while. We were actually celebrating Ignatius Day at the end of July, and he comes to have lunch and a coffee with his brothers.
You taught at SI, so is St. Ignatius your I don't know,
He is the patron saint. He's the guy who started The Jesuits.
I knew there was a word that I should have used instead of mascot, but I get okay. Yeah, so
a mascot works. Yeah, I'll go with that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's great to have all three of you. Our show today brought to you by Salesforce. We use Salesforce religiously here. It's a really great tool for keeping track of your customers. It's also, as it turns out, a really great tool for serving your customers. This Week in Tech brought to you by the Salesforce Service Cloud. Salesforce Service Cloud wants you to be prepared during these difficult times, these unknown times. They know you're trying to do more with less resources. You're hustling to adapt to new customer needs. You have to innovate your business to respond to the current environment. Satisfied customers is job one. I have to think. That means you need a platform that performs quickly and efficiently to meet your customers' needs and meet your needs as you're meeting your customers' needs. That's Service Cloud, the world's #1 customer service platform, empowering organizations to deliver that service from anywhere at any time. It's from out-of-the-box to fully customizable support. You'll find the best solution for your customers. Rapidly respond to customer needs wherever they are on any channel, chat, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, anywhere. More from home, in the field, at the office. You can provide instant support with self-service portals connecting customers to information they need, articles, account info, and community members to find those answers instantly. Yes, that's all built into Service Cloud. And because Service Cloud has AI, you'll work smarter. Embed AI-powered chatbots to help resolve customer issues quickly. That's nice because there's always somebody there. Give your service team the tools to provide an unforgettable customer experience. You'll resolve cases faster while using the suite of intelligent productivity tools, giving agents a complete shared view of every customer and interaction. You can utilize the capability of personalizing every customer conversation. Customers like that. They like to feel the relationship with your service reps. Allow them to always respond with the right level of service as needed. It's a fast, flexible platform. Salesforce Service Cloud. You'll be a Salesforce trailblazer, providing world-class service anytime, anywhere, whether it's messaging, chat, phone, self-service, or in person. You want to know how to be a trailblazer? Salesforce Service Cloud. Provide your customer service agents with fast and flexible service platform that keeps them and your customers happy. It's easy to go to the website bit.ly. They've got a bit.ly link, bit.ly/Salesforce for service. bit.ly/Salesforce for service to find out how the world's #1 service platform can help you grow your business. Service first, service always. Now more than ever, we really want to provide the best service to our customers, and this is the way to do it. I just want to make one quick note. I always save the obituaries to the end. This isn't a sad obituary. Well, it sort of is. I wanted to mention Francis E. Allen.
Yeah.
Not well known, unless you're you're a coder like Lexi or you're a language fan. But her story is really remarkable. She was born on a farm without running water in Peru, New York, 88 days ago. She died August 4th on her 88th birthday, so 88 plus a few days ago. Years ago, I should say, not days. 88 years ago. She wanted to be a teacher. She graduated from the New York State College for Teachers. It's now SUNY Albany. She was up there in Upper New York State. She got a bachelor's in mathematics in 1954, began teaching math in school back in Peru, New York. 2 years later, she decided, I like math. She wanted to get an MS in math. She went to the University of Michigan, earned her master's in 1957, but was kind of crippled, as many of us are, with student loans. So she said, before I go back to teach, because that was her first love, I'm going to get a quick job, make some money at IBM Research in Poughkeepsie as a programmer. This is back in 1957. She never left. 45 years later, she ended her career at IBM when she retired. She taught incoming employees Fortran. She retired in 2002, was still a fellow emerita. She became an IBM fellow, which is the highest award IBM can give you, and won the Turing Award, the highest award computer science can give you, because she was a pioneer in compilers, compiler organization and optimization algorithms. She made contributions that have changed the way software is made even to this day. Her work on interprocedural analysis and automatic parallelization is currently the leading edge of compiler research, even though she did that work in the 60s and 70s. An amazing person. And I want to acknowledge her because I don't think she's well known to the general public, even to the technical public. She's probably well known to anybody who's ever designed a compiler or learned about how compilers work. She was the first female IBM fellow, the first female winner of the Turing Award, a fellow of the IEEE and the ACM. They even created the IEEE Francis E. Allen Medal in her honor. Passed away of Alzheimer's at the age of 88 this week. And I think it's so important. She was, through the rest of her life, an advocate for women in STEM and women in coding. And God knows we desperately need more diversity in the software and hardware that we use every day. Because, you know, if it's got only the point of view of a bunch of white guys, it's just not going to be the software we want, the software we need, the software we deserve. So we should remember Francis E. Allen. Go ahead.
There's something there that I think everyone needs to remember, and that is today we take it for granted that you can have a compiler. Yeah, there's several different types of compilers. There's ways to organize your code, but there had to be someone who started with the idea that there's a more efficient way to program a computer than flipping switches. There's a shared language that we can create that will help us organize our thoughts into something that can actually be run through a computational machine.
Yeah.
The first person to do that had to be visionary. I mean, now we know it's possible. It's like the first time that you go into space, that's when you have to be visionary. After that, you're duplicating. You're trying to enhance. But that first effort out the door needs to get so much recognition because it laid the foundation for everything that came after.
Yeah. It's the thing that turns something sort of human readable into something the machine can act upon. Lexi, I'm sure, knows it. What languages did you code in?
Lots of things. C, C++.
Okay. Both use compilers.
Java.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Wait, but what did you learn on? What did they make you learn when you started?
C.
C is the most beautiful. I love C.
Yeah, no, I loved it. That's
you
why
can
I was like,
this
this is great.
Kernahan and Ritchie, the C programming language is this thick. It was the first language, the first real language I learned. I learned BASIC, of course, but the first real language I learned was C. And to this day, I consider it elegant, beautiful, a real masterpiece. Of course,
they started me with Fortran and Pascal.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I learned Pascal because I had to in the early days of the Macintosh. That's how you coded.
Hated it.
Pascal is kind of a nightmare. C just feels natural and beautiful.
Yep.
Of course, it has plenty of pitfalls. And a lot of the bugs and exploits we get in code today really goes back to that idea that we're going to make a language so powerful that the programmer can dig a hole for herself and fall right into it.
Like Steve Gibson.
Nobody but Steve. Steve Gibson's the last guy writing assembly. C is very close to the metal.
Yeah, I have respect for anyone who can write high level in assembly.
You know, as somebody, I wrote a lot of assembly code early on because I hated Pascal so much. I ended up writing a 68,000 assembler for the Mac, and it was actually easier than Pascal. What happens, and I guarantee you it's what's happened with Steve, is as you do it, you eventually start writing macros, and in effect, you create your own high-level language. Yeah. So you're writing in a language that is much more fluent than typing, move 6 to 4.
Well, if you're proficient in assembly, you've essentially created your own compiler because you've got a library of
you're the compiler.
Over and over.
You're the compiler. I actually loved writing 68,000 assembler because it has a flat memory model. It was very straightforward. It had a very logical instruction set. And then I took a look at the 8086. Yeah. And I said, I'm never writing assembly code for this thing. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You wrote a great piece this week on CNET, Lexi, on Black Girls Code. Tell us about that.
Yeah, had the great honor of talking to Kimberly Bryant. She's the CEO and founder of Black Girls Code, and we had a really wide-ranging discussion, and something that's personally a big passion point for me is getting more women in the industry, and especially women of color, because, we all know that women are super underrepresented in the tech industry, and women of color especially so. Kimberly really brought some great points to our discussion that, women of color have just been, less and less and less of them are following through into positions within the tech industry. So it's, when she was studying engineering back in, when she was studying, I think in the 80s, the representation levels were around 30%. And now if you look at the numbers of women of color in IT positions and STEM careers, it's around 3%. So it's very clear that there needs to be a lot more representation, and her organization is doing some great work in making sure that, these young girls are getting the support, the resources, and the education to do things. It's not just coding. It's everything from, experimenting with virtual reality, getting into robotics, and even the maker sort of style of things. It's fantastic what they're doing. And I really wanted to profile her and just, get the opportunity to talk to her. So if you have a chance, go check it out. It was a really great discussion. And, we discussed everything from, systemic inequalities, how companies can better diversify, not only their workforce, but also their companies from the ground up. Because a great point she brought up was that it's great to have tech companies thinking about diversity in hiring, but, if the structures of these companies are not set up to support those employees, then, it's a really uphill battle. So really just working out actually structurally how to make those changes so tech companies are really built from the ground up to support is the most important thing. And just making sure that there is a great pipeline of young women who are, keen, ready to go, and super passionate, because they are, and they're there. It's just about, okay, let's make sure that they actually have a supportive network and a place where they can continue the great work that they do.
It's really true that it's a systemic issue. Racism is a systemic issue in general. And because it's built into the system, you don't see it. So you say, well, look, we've got all these black kids coming in and learning how to code. See, we fixed it. And it's not it at all. You have to create an environment that not only brings people in, but nurtures them and gives them an opportunity and gives them a shot. And I meant it when I said the last thing you want is a bunch of bros designing your hardware and software. That is a recipe for disaster, for failure. And it's really important. I don't think it's something we should diminish.
We want diversity on the hiring committees, not just on the teams.
Everywhere. It's a systemic problem, And I'm sure, Lexi, you felt that as a woman coming in. You're the one woman on a team of coders. They may be nice people. They may not be bad people. They may not even be sexist people, but you're not in a positive, healthy environment.
It's really interesting because it's not just in the environment that you might think, like, studying and, in colleges and universities. It actually even has pervaded the workforce and workplace experiences in the reporting on the tech industry. There has been a number of events that I can think of at the top of my head, at least 4 or 5, where as a female tech journalist, I was just assumed not to be interested in the technical side of the briefing. And then instead I was sent with a group of lifestyle journalists to that particular briefing. And then I'd be like, I think I'm in the wrong room, because all my colleagues and all the people that I'm normally with are in that room over there. And then, oh, no, that's the technical briefing. I'm like, no, that's what I'm actually here for. I'm not writing for a lifestyle publication. I am writing for a technical audience. Right. So I need to be in that room. So it's just interesting, those implicit biases that, have come across. It's like over the course of my career, it has gotten significantly better, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And, I think now the focus needs to be on diversity and getting people from a range of different backgrounds, people of color. This is very, very important that we don't just have, a monochrome tech industry, because if you think of everybody, tech is touched and used by everybody. So as you say, like having just one group of people creating, the devices and the software that we use is not going to solve those bigger problems. We need to have a variety of voices, because there's problems that we don't even think about that are not being solved right now. And to make sure that those voices are being heard and those products are being developed can only be a good thing.
That's exactly right. You know, there was
I see it.
Go ahead.
I see it in OPSEC, in the world of OPSEC, because the best red and blue teams are the most diverse teams.
Oh, interesting.
You don't want a lot of people who are very competent, very good.
Because they're all going to think the same
all
thing.
Think the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. This was a complaint people had about TikTok. I thought it was interesting. A number of black creators said, it's not an outright racism, but there's this co-opting of black culture that happens on TikTok, and the white people doing the black rap is what rises to the top at TikTok. And it's like that. It's so hard. It's so insidious and so hard to see it.
Same with the music industry in general.
Exactly. And I think of the contribution black people have made to culture is so, it really, frankly, outsized that it'd be a shame to just because of laziness or inertia, not try to get that DNA into everything we do, including the hardware and software, into technology. And certainly the point of view of women. It's hard. You say it's getting better, Lexi. I'm not convinced about that. I feel like people like Brianna Wu, when we talk about Gamergate and the resistance from gamers to anything that might imply that maybe gaming could be a little bit more diverse and a little bit more inclusive, strikes me as a problem in the long run. So. By the way, this would be good. Next time you go into one of those rooms, bring Spot along with you.
Yeah. A Spot, yes. Head Spot into the room for me. This was fun. I got the opportunity to remotely drive Spot, a Boston Dynamics Spot robot, the quadruped robot, from my couch, which, as you can see, I'm sitting on right now, and walking around San Francisco. It was so much fun.
Oh, now I have a picture of you, and it looks like the lip sync is bad, but this is actually from your video. I apologize, because it's exactly the same.
I'm talking, and I'm on my couch at the same time. This is so bizarre.
So you actually you used a joystick to control this robot? Oh, there she is again. So that's confusing.
You can skip a bit forward into the video if you want.
So this is what you see.
Yeah, so this is the viewpoint of Spot. So this is technology that's powered by a company called Formant. They're a San Francisco-based startup. They're essentially connecting robots to the internet and giving humans the ability to both monitor and remotely control. So using Spot as an example, I was actually able to see like the interface of basically what Spot sees in its camera, and that was the main thing on my screen. As you can see, I'm using a PlayStation 3 controller. A lot of people were like, why are you using a PS3 controller? I'm like, because it's the only controller I have. We're in quarantine.
It's fine.
Sorry,
I don't
have a PS5.
What's wrong with that? Come on. See, this is what I mean about gamers. So intolerant.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh, it's a PS3 controller. Ew.
Anyway, it is what it is. So that's all I have. So, yeah, using a controller, or you can use a browser, including a mouse and your trackpad, to remotely control the robot.
Why would you want to do this?
Why not is the question, right? Why not? Why wouldn't you want to control a $75,000 robot?
It seems like a military application. Like you might want to, I don't know, attack people.
Isn't that the smart way though, Leo? Because I don't know if you play dead, does it bat you around like a bear and then walk off, or does it start to eat like a cougar? That's my big question here.
It's so scary. Where was this robot actually in real life? Where was it?
So it was funny. It was actually very close to where I am, in Golden Gate Park, actually, in San Francisco. Yeah, so it's not just Spot that it's used for, obviously. It's for a range of different robots, underwater drones, other sort of drones, robotics used in agriculture.
It's a kind of drone.
Factories. Yeah, it's anything where a human, it's going to be more difficult to be able to manage a fleet of robots in person. So any sort of robotic application that you can think of that needs remote management, not only for someone controlling it, but also for someone to kind of keep monitoring it. Say, for example, like, XYZ robot needs maintenance now, or, the motor is acting up a little bit strange. So this interface gives, humans a bunch of different, it gets all the data points from the robot, and you can actually remotely manage it. This was just a fun way to show that I could drive a $75,000 robot, and I crashed it. So
you crashed it? How did you crash it?
I got a little too excited. Typical Lexi fashion. She got super pumped about the fact that I was controlling a robot, and then I moved the joystick in the wrong direction. It was like 100% user error. Thank goodness it was fine, because I don't think I could live with $75,000 of broken robot on my conscience or my bank account.
I note that there's a guy walking next to it. Is that just for security so nobody steals it? Or is that part of the deal? I mean,
I think he picks up after Spot.
Yeah, definitely. And it gives him treats too.
Oh, okay.
Just another set of eyes and ears on the ground. And the best part about this is just like the fun thing is that you can also do it as well. You can apply to drive Spot the robot if you want.
After losing so many drones, there's no way I'm trying
Terminator and the Matrix and all that. I'm just like, do it. Yeah, they move a bit like a dog, a bit like an insect, a bit like a zombie, and in a way that my human brain just finds terrifying.
I love how the humans are reacting to this. Here's some kids who drove by and they stopped the car and looked out the window as you. Was that kind of fun for you to interact with?
It was really fun because actually as I was moving the robot, they were kind of mimicking the movement as well. They were kind of like tilting their head either side. There were a few people that stopped to take selfies. Some people there was a kind of a stalemate situation where I was ready to cross a bridge. And then the humans stopped, but I couldn't get past because they were just staring, watching, going, I don't know what to do. It's just really interesting to see like human-robot interaction. This is something that we're going to have to get used to.
Wow, you went down a street?
In our environment. That wasn't me. Full disclosure, that is footage from.
This is terrifying.
Typical San Francisco. They're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there's a dog,
exactly,
a robot dog.
You're like, oh, whatever. Robot dog.
I'd jump up and run screaming. Are you kidding? That's terrifying.
You know, this is awesome and it's cute until there's a dozen of them and they have chain guns, and then the fun's over.
You just have too vivid imagination.
No, I read the X-Men when the Sentinels came out, Leo. Come on, this is like we're building that tech now.
Yeah, I have to do this as a plug for Karsten. We talked about this last week. Brianna Wu was on. I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" She said, 8 a.m. I am Pacific. I'm jumping out of bed to buy the Analog Pocket. I would think for you, Robert, it's a Game Boy. It's a modern Game Boy based on FPGAs. This Seattle company's made their name doing this, but it's not just a Game Boy. First of all, the display is 1600 by 1440. Okay, it supports Game Boy.
I think the original Game Boy was 80 by 60.
Yeah. I don't know what games are going to look like. The original Game Boy, it supports as well as the Game Boy Color Advance. It's got adapters that'll let it work with a Game Gear, a Neo Geo, and an Atari Lynx, which is actually what I would love to use it with. Unfortunately, I got up at 8:45 and it was sold out.
Well, it's complete nerd nirvana.
Yeah, I was not a Nintendo guy, but Karsten was apparently, because he got up and he got it. And he told his son, this is your birthday present, Zach. You have two choices. You can play with it, or you can sell it unused on eBay for a lot more money than we paid for it, and you can go into your college fund. So I told Karsten good, you got two bids, Karsten. They're bidding it up.
Holy cow.
They're bidding it up. He started at $1,200. It's now $1,325, the Analog Pocket. But this is the deluxe thing with the dock and the case and the whole shamil, unused. 2 days and 23 hours left. It expires Wednesday afternoon at 4:16 p.m.
Are you going to snipe it, Leo?
I'm thinking about it. Depends what it gets. Is this or a Galaxy Fold? I don't know.
Might get up to the same price as the Fold.
I think it's gonna.
It's on its way. It's on its way.
And which is more useful?
The Fold to make a sandwich.
I think this would be better than the Fold. So look for Analog Pocket Black. Frowsy is the seller. I guess that's Karsten's secret eBay name. And,
not anymore.
Frowsy. And by the way, since it's Karsten, you know you're going to get it. There's lots of other people selling these, but this is the guy who has got one or will have one. It doesn't actually come out for a while, so you won't actually get it till I don't know when, next year, I think. But it's the complete set, and Karsten's not. You know where to find him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you know where the bow tie abides.
Yeah, the bow tie abides, baby. And I'm moving to New Hampshire because it's going to be the first state to allow flying cars Actually, no, I'm not moving there. That's the first place. I'm staying away. I'm staying away.
Because humans are really good at 2 dimensions. So we should give them a third.
Yeah, why not? The House Bill 1182 is nicknamed the Jetson Bill. Makes flying cars legal in
Did you indicate down? Did you indicate down or left? I meant to indicate left. Did I indicate down?
All right, kids. I think we've had enough for the day. You've proven that long-form broadcasting has a future. The 5 people are still listening. Well done. You have stamina. That's Father Robert Ballas here, the digital Jesuit. Bobby, tell us what you're up to. I know you brought back Padre's Corner, right?
I did. Unfortunately, when the pandemic started, suddenly my services were required a lot more. That's why my studio is no longer my studio, because they realized what I built up here, and they have used it pretty much every single day.
For Zoom calls, nonstop Zoom calls?
Zoom calls, video messages. I mean, when you have an international organization that can no longer travel.
That's really good you built that, though. Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
I know. It is. And now they know it's here. It means I have to find another secret room and build something in there.
And then another secret room. Another one.
It's an endless chain. He has a Discourse channel if you want to play the Vatican Minecraft server. That's still up, right?
Yes, we still play. Actually, just if you go to twitter.com/PadreSJ, you'll find everything. I link up the Discord channel. I link up the servers for Minecraft, for Rust, for Don't Starve. I do play games far more than I should, and I hope that doesn't make it back to the people who tell me what to do.
It won't. Nobody watches this show. They were, but they stopped after the first half hour. Thank you, Father Robert Ballas, the digital Jesuit. Always a pleasure. I miss you so much, but I am glad you're doing God's work. Thank you for that.
I wish I was back in California, Leo.
Yeah. The pasta's better here, believe it or not. It is. And the eggs, the morning eggs, much better.
Yes.
Much better. The poor guy. I feel for you every time you post those pictures. Lexi Savides, thank you for introducing me to the Jaffle.
Yes, if there's one thing that we can take from today's discussion, it is the Jaffle, and please go forth and conquer. I want to see all of the crazy concoctions that you make. My hot tip is, my secret guilty pleasure is tinned spaghetti in the Jaffle with a bit of cheese.
Do you put bread in there, or you just fry the spaghetti as the?
No, you put it in the middle of the bread.
You put so it's a grilled cheese, but instead of cheese, it's tinned spaghetti.
Put cheese and tinned spaghetti.
And
but maybe the tinned spaghetti here is not as good as the one from my childhood.
No. We have Chef Boyardee here.
Oh, stop.
That's Italian.
That's horrible.
How about beefaroni? I bet beefaroni would be good in a Jaffle.
Yeah, come on, give it a go. I want to see that on the next After Hours. So that's the next cooking challenge, I think.
We should explain. A Jaffle is a grilled cheese maker, but it seals the edges so that the cheese, the gooey cheese, it becomes a hot pocket, basically.
Hot pocket.
Every penny. You got to buy it. I expect next time to see the Jaffle maker take pride of place behind you.
I think we should have a show on pandemic cuisine.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. All the amazing tools and things that you can use in quarantine.
Amazing.
Let's do it.
We can find her with Lexi Savides on CNET. Watch her videos. Lexi Savides on the Twitter and the Instagram, LEXYSAVVIDES. You are a gift. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Very kind. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. And, of course, Renee Ritchie, who is the gift that keeps on giving every Tuesday on Mac Break Weekly and, of course, on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Renee Ritchie. This was fun to have 3 of my favorite people on today. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you Tuesday, Renee. And you guys, well, I'll see you next Sunday. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, about 2:30 Pacific. That's 5:30 Eastern. That's 21:30 UTC. There is a live stream. It's just a making of behind the scenes thing. That's, in fact, you would know about the Jaffle Maker if you'd tuned in early, because that was all before the show began. twit.tv/live. There's live audio and video. A little programming note, we have moved the audio server. We're doing a redirect. Most people should not notice the difference. But if you're having a little trouble with your VLC or whatever you've streamed the audio with before, that's why. Go to twit.tv/live to link it up again. The links are there. twit.tv/live. On-demand versions of the show at their website, twit.tv. Of course, it takes us a couple hours after the show's done to whip it into shape. But we have a Jaffle maker for that now, which will make it a lot easier. Just trim the edges and everything will be done. Twit.tv is the website, and on demand, of course, on YouTube from your Amazon Echo or other voice assistant. You just ask for This Week in Tech podcast. It'll play for you. You know, the easiest thing to do would be find a podcast application, Pocket Casts or Shoutcast or Spotify, or I can go on Google or Apple's podcast app and subscribe. That way you get it automatically. We like to say what is it we say? Your first show in tech is the first show of the week is the last word in tech, or something like that. I don't even remember. It's been so long. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the Jaffle Maker. Bye-bye.